Chapter 897. After Lu Kuan and Zhu Siming finished their discussion, Lu Kuan summoned Huang Xiaoyun and asked him to refine the breastbone spirit-controlling magic tools, as well as arrange the cultivation of the Vajra spell. He also threw a bag of spirit stones to Huang Xiaoyun. Currently, there were more than 200 people who had reached the Vajra spell. Aside from the cost of the magic tool materials, cultivating in this barren mountain range would also consume a large amount of spirit stones. In the past few days, Lu Kuan had arranged the cultivation of everyone in the body refining pavilion. Among the first-generation disciples, those who entered the bone treasure stage would increase their battle prowess, while the others would try their best to break through to the bone treasure stage. In the past few days, Zhu Xiaofeng had arranged all the earth-fire stones in the treasure pavilion. More than 10 second-generation disciples were using the stones to cultivate. A few days ago, Zhao Qingtian and Pan Yen set off for the Holy Poison sect in the West Prefecture of the state of Qi. When the first batch of poisons arrived, the second-generation disciples would definitely advance by leaps and bounds through dual cultivation. Now that the Holy Poison sect had an abundant supply of poisons, they had to make full use of them to speed up the cultivation of the body refining pavilion disciples. The 50 or so young martial artists with spirit roots had also gathered near Dahe and Corpse Priest's cave residence. They were using the power of cold and demon chi to increase the efficiency of body tempering. If the remaining several hundred martial artists knew that they had the possibility of cultivating as mortals, they would probably cultivate even more crazily than the official disciples. All of this would consume spirit stones. If Lu Kuan hadn't taken away most of old Devilpang's belongings, they probably wouldn't have been able to support the expenses for 30 years. After discussing the details of the tool's spirit root, Lu Kuan took out an iron hammer with dim magic patterns and placed it in the middle of the three. The ground shook slightly when the hammer fell. Senior Martial Brother Qin, Martial Uncle Zhu, this is the Heaven Hammer, a top-grade devil tool. Unfortunately, it was damaged during the tribulation. Zhu Siming's peak core formation spiritual sense emerged from his body and scanned the devil artifact. Then, he made a hand seal and the heaven hammer slowly floated into the air. He clicked his tongue and said, "It's actually so heavy. It must contain extremely dense materials. Unfortunately, the patterns inside are different from the miniature spell formation. Immortal cultivators can't unleash its power." Lu Kuan said, "At that time, I took a fancy to the heaven hammer's heavy weight and hard material, so I bought it at the auction house. These 2 points can bring the brute force of the body to the extreme, and greatly improve the fighting power of the treasure bone stage. I didn't expect that I would barely be able to bring out some of the demon vessel's power by chance." Qin Yushu was also observing this weapon, which was completely different from a magic weapon. He couldn't help but ask, how did the pavilion master activate it? Did he use magic? Lu Kuan said, "Ordinary demonic power can't activate it. Back then, my blood demonic power underwent an unusual change because I refined the true demonic will. Coupled with the demon arm divine ability, I barely activated it." Zhu Siming asked, "The true demonic will? Is it the brutal will contained in the true demonic pool?" Lu Kuan nodded and said, "That's right. Later, old Demon Pang also got this weapon. It seems that he can use the demon vessel with the divine ability of the blood demon technique, and the blood demon technique is a technique that relies on the true demonic will to break through. This means that the true demonic will is one of the conditions to use the demon vessel." Zhu Siming nodded and continued to look at the demon veins on the heaven hammer. He said softly, "Pavilion Master, the demon veins on this demon vessel don't seem to be damaged by external forces." Lu Kuan was slightly stunned and said, "How did Masters Junior Zhu know?" Zhu Siming pointed to one of the dim demon veins and said, "Look, the fine veins here are bursting from the inside out. If it was caused by external forces, there would definitely be cracks on it." Lu Kuan also used his divine sense to investigate and found that it was indeed so. He frowned and said, "Is it because of demon ability?" "Demon ability?" Qin Yushu and Zhu Siming asked in unison. Lu Kuan explained simply, "After entering the bone transformation stage, the energy in the body of a body cultivator is a combination of magic power and demon ability. It is a tyrannical energy that can temper the bones. When I used demon ability to activate Tu Tiancheng's magic weapon, it only took one attack to completely destroy the magic weapon's internal array. The Heaven Hammer was also damaged by demon ability. Inferring from this, the demon ability of a body cultivator is definitely much more tyrannical than that of the demon race." Qin Yushu and Zhu Siming were somewhat baffled. The combination of magic power and demon ability, the demon race also had a similar energy. Demon ability? After a pause, Zhu Siming asked again, "Pavilion Master, how did you use the Heaven Hammer during the tribulation? This magic weapon's material is extremely strong and shouldn't be easily damaged." Lu Kuan recalled, "At that time, I used a bloodline ability to absorb the remaining true demon water in the demon cave. I originally wanted to use the true demon intent to activate the Heaven Hammer, but who knew that the demon ability in my body would unexpectedly activate the demon ability's greatest power." The demon ability's greatest power. Lu Kuan slowly said, "Under the infusion of demon ability, not only did the Heaven Hammer contain a terrifying amount of power, but it also absorbed demon origin energy. Its power increased sharply and scattered a lot of thunder tribulation." Zhu Siming's eyes widened and he cried out, "Demon origin energy! Is this magic weapon a heavenly magic weapon?" "Heavenly magic weapon?" Zhu Siming seemed to know about demon origin energy and hurriedly asked, "Pavilion Master, are you sure it's demon origin energy on the same level as the world's origin energy?" Lu Kuan said with certainty, "That aura is very similar to the thunder tribulation that contains the world's origin energy. I can't be wrong." He then asked, "Martial Uncle Zhu, could it be that a magic weapon that can attract the world's origin energy is the legendary heavenly magic weapon?" Zhu Siming composed himself and looked at the Heaven Hammer, whose demonic patterns had dimmed, and said, "That's right. I've seen descriptions of heavenly magic weapons in the sect's ancient records. This kind of magic weapon actually belongs to the category of spirit-connected magic weapons, but it's the top spirit-connected magic weapons. The biggest difference between it and ordinary spirit-connected magic weapons is that it can use the world's origin energy to perform all kinds of inconceivable abilities." Zhu Siming sighed. According to the ancient records, this kind of powerful magic weapon can only be refined by spirit-severing cultivators. After all, using the world's origin energy is a spirit-severing cultivator's ability. Ordinary heavenly magic weapons can't be used by nascent soul early-stage cultivators, and nascent soul mid-stage cultivators can barely use them after paying a certain price. Only grand cultivators can use heavenly magic weapons normally. A nascent soul mid-stage cultivator with the help of such a powerful magic weapon is definitely not weaker than a grand cultivator. Not to mention a grand cultivator. With a heavenly magic weapon, their strength is almost at the peak of the nascent soul stage. Lu Kuan said thoughtfully, "The Heaven Hammer can use demon origin energy. It seems to be a weapon on the same level as a heavenly magic weapon." Zhu Siming looked at the dimmed Heaven Hammer with a pained expression. This demonic artifact must have been refined by a soul formation stage expert of the demon race. "Pavilion Master, I didn't expect your demonic energy to be so tyrannical that it could even destroy such a top-notch treasure," Lu Kuan said with a headache. "Since it involves a spirit-severing cultivator, I'm afraid this Heaven Hammer can't be repaired. Demonic weapons are also not suitable for body cultivators' demon origin energy. It seems that bone transformation stage weapons are far away." Qin Yushu heard this and asked, "Pavilion Master wants to refine a weapon that can withstand demon origin energy?" Lu Kuan sighed. Yes, if I have a weapon that can withstand demon origin energy, my combat strength will be further improved, and I will have a greater chance of dealing with old Devonshire. I didn't expect that a heavenly magic weapon level demonic weapon can't withstand such overbearing demon origin energy. Qin Yushu suddenly said, Pavilion Master, your bones are all bone treasures. How can they bear demon origin energy? Lu Kuan was stunned for a moment, and then he showed a surprised expression. Yes, why didn't I think of it? I can use my bone treasures as a reference. Chapter 898. Zhu Siming looked at Lu Kuan, who seemed to have just woken up from a dream, and added, If Pavilion Master has a headache about the demon ability, then there's no need to consider other magic treasures or abilities. Pavilion Master can compare the demon ability to your bone treasures. As for the materials, you can refer to the Jade Bone humanoid demon. After all, this treasure is a fusion of the 5 elements and the essence of the demon race. It's similar to the fusion of magic power and demon ability. Hearing this, Qin Yushu's expression changed. After killing Tian Renjie, Pavilion Master left some demon race corpses with me. They should be useful. Qin Yushu waved his hand, and 8 strange purplish-black skeletons appeared on the ground. They were similar in shape to humans, but there were some bone spurs at the joint. Lu Kuan looked at these skeletons and suddenly remembered that half of the Black Fiend Demon King's corpse was also in his storage rib. It was refined from the Demon King's corpse, so it could also be used as a refining material. Seeing Lu Kuan in deep thought, Qin Yushu and Zhu Siming looked at each other. The latter said, Demon ability is unique to Pavilion Master. We can't give you any suggestions, so we'll take our leave first. Lu Kuan sighed. Since you've already provided the idea, then I'll leave the matter of the artifact's spirit root to you. Haha, we're all family. Pavilion Master doesn't need to be so polite. After Qin Yushu and Zhu Siming left, Lu Kuan remained on the top platform of the tower. He lowered his head and pondered. From the end of the tribulation until now, he hadn't studied the later stages of cultivation. Without a suitable place to cultivate, he had to use the demon stones and spirit stones sparingly. The bone transformation stage was equivalent to the nascent soul stage. Lu Kuan's lifespan was ample. The most important thing now was to increase his combat strength and seize the miraculous gate territory. Besides the comprehension of combat techniques, the only thing that could increase his combat strength was his weapon. Lu Kuan looked at the heaven hammer in his hand. Many of the runes on its surface had been destroyed by the mana, not to mention the arrays inside. This demonic tool was a treasure on the same level as a heavenly magic treasure. Apart from the magic pattern array, the materials used to make it were all extremely valuable. Thus, he was biting off more than he could chew. Putting away the heaven hammer, Lu Kuan sank his consciousness into his body and began to circulate the demon energy within his bone treasure. He wanted to experience the state of the demon energy within his bone treasure. He did not know if it was because his focus was different, but he quickly noticed a few details that he had not noticed before. When the devil energy activated the bone treasure, a layer of complicated patterns would appear on the surface of the bone treasure. It was the elemental spirit array carved by Old Devil Pang, the unique array pattern of the psychic puppet. During the transformation of the body to the origin, the spirit essence array would accelerate the formation of the body's origin strength. If other body cultivators wanted to break through to the bone transformation stage, then this spirit essence array was necessary. Not long ago, when Lu Kuan was comprehending combat techniques, he discovered another function of the spirit essence array. It strengthened the control of the body's origin strength. If there was no spirit essence array to stabilize the application of the complex force field, it would be difficult to use. In addition to the spirit essence array, Lu Kuan also noticed a key point in the circulation of the demon energy within his body. That was, when the demon energy supported the bone treasure, it did not directly circulate within the bone treasure. Instead, it was carried within the blood. The demon energy was a combination of blood essence, demon energy, and chaos energy. It was the product of the body's origin transformation. It was also a bridge between the body and energy. The demon energy could activate the flesh condensation technique and circulate throughout the body through the blood. It was inseparable from the blood. Could it be that the demon energy within the bone treasure was related to the blood? Thinking of this, Lu Kuan took out a long saber magic weapon. Silver demon energy poured into it through his palm and observed the changes within. After the demon energy left the blood, although it was still under control, it seemed to be missing something. It churned happily in the magic weapon, bringing with it a destructive aura, attacking the miniature array inside. Lu Kuan's mind moved, and the long saber magic weapon surged with an origin force field. The distorted air wrapped around the magic weapon, emitting a heart-palpitating pressure. The moment he used the body's origin strength, the demon energy within the magic weapon immediately became more ferocious. A series of slight explosions were heard, and more than half of the miniature array inside the magic weapon collapsed. Lu Kuan seemed to understand something and spat out another mouthful of silver blood. The silver blood wrapped around the magic weapon, and the demon energy in the blood surged into it. However, the density of the blood was too high, and it could only adhere to the surface of the magic weapon. After a while, the remaining arrays in the magic weapon were all destroyed. Lu Kuan's eyes lit up. He sat cross-legged and entered a state of cultivation. He transferred the life force in his body to the bone treasure. The demon energy trembled slightly and turned into chaos magic power and blood demon energy. A destructive force surged in the depths of the bones. His expression was solemn. He ignored the tumbling demon energy and carefully felt the condition of the blood and bone treasure. The demon energy was in a state of cultivation. It had lost the balance of life force and became incomparably violent. The blood also lacked a lively aura. The sturdy array of the bone treasure flashed, resisting the violent destructive power. The trace of life force wandered in the bone treasure, helping the bone treasure to temper itself. After observing for a while, Lu Kuan left the state of cultivation. He took out a long banner magic weapon and poured a stream of demon energy into it. He did not do anything else and quietly observed. After about 10 breaths of time, the silver energy was divided into magic power and demon energy. They annihilated each other and destroyed most of the miniature arrays in the magic weapon. Lu Kuan murmured, "So the key point is the life force. Without the life force, the demon energy is so domineering." After observing just now, he found that the place where the life force resided was the flesh and not the demon energy. The switch between the state of cultivation and the state of battle was just the transfer of the life force between the bone treasure and the blood. When the demon energy left the body, it lost the balance of life force. The energy inside surged with each other and became very fierce. It relied on the remaining life force to barely maintain it for 10 breaths of time. The life force is attached to the bones and blood. If the magic weapon is forged according to the structure of the bones, forming a multi-layered structure such as dense bone, cancellous bone, and marrow cavity, storing blood essence in the depths and integrating the life force, wouldn't it be the same as the bone treasure and be able to carry the demon energy? Lu Kuan's thoughts suddenly became clear. As for the control of the demon energy, I can start with the elemental spirit array. The elemental spirit array of the bone treasure has been finalized, but I can improve the elemental spirit array of the weapon by referring to the combat skills of the body cultivator. If I need a defensive type, I will match the operation method of the source vortex. If I need the power of vibration, I will adjust the elemental spirit array according to the changes in the palm technique's source force field. Lu Kuan clenched his fist excitedly, causing the air to explode. Except for the sturdy array, no other arrays are needed. The weapons of the bone transformation stage are magic weapons that use the demon energy to flexibly exert the origin power of the body. Lu Kuan looked excited as if he had discovered a new world. If this method is feasible, it means that the weapons of the bone transformation stage can be combined with the combat skills of the body cultivator, and the power of the combat skills can be fully displayed. Lu Kuan thought of something again, and his expression stagnated. The life force has been integrated with the body, and there is only a trace. Without it, the cultivation of the bone transformation stage cannot be carried out, and it is impossible to use it for refining. That's right. A bold idea suddenly emerged in his mind. The life force comes from the heavenly tribulation, then the transformation thunder tribulation of the monster cultivator. Will it also produce the life force? Lu Kuan's eyes flashed, exuding a bit of coldness. He had a plan in his mind. Then he looked at the demon skeleton under his feet. The structure of the weapon had a general idea, so it was time to choose the materials. Martial Uncle Zhu was right. The demon energy was a mixture of magic power and demon energy. The material of the jade bone humanoid demon was the best reference. P.S. This chapter counts as yesterday's. It will continue to be updated 10 times this week. Chapter 899. In the West Prefecture of the state of Qi, where rogue cultivators gathered, there was a cultivator city built on top of a huge rock monolith city. In the center of the city, where the spiritual Qi and demonic Qi were the densest, there were 3 cave residences owned by the 3 city lords of Monolith City. The 3 city lords were all mid-nascent soul stage cultivators, and their powers complemented each other. If they worked together, they could even fight against a grand cultivator. In the middle of the city lord's residence, a green-haired middle-aged man sat in the hall. He held a teacup and narrowed his eyes, savoring the wonderful taste of the tea that lingered on the tip of his tongue. This green-haired man with a deep aura was the 2nd city lord of Monolith City, Ba Fengyan, a mid-nascent soul stage cultivator. Across from him sat an old man with an extraordinary bearing. This old man had a pair of extremely long eyebrows that fell all the way to his neck, making him look like an immortal. This old man with long eyebrows was the 3rd city lord of Monolith City. Sun poured himself a cup of tea and said, "Second brother, I haven't seen Big Brother in a while. He still hasn't come out this time. Could it be that his cultivation has reached a critical point?" Ba Fengyan put down his cup and said with a sorrowful expression, "Big Brother has already left Monolith City for a long time." Sun was slightly surprised and asked, "Big Brother is much older than us. Could it be?" Ba Fengyan sighed and tears flashed in his eyes. "Sigh, Big Brother is a whole 300 years older than us. 50 years ago, he almost reached the end of his life. I think he didn't want to see us sad and left alone to wait for the end of his life." Sun showed a pained expression and said, "Why is Big Brother like this? At least say hello to us brothers. His relatives are still in Monolith City. Didn't he make proper arrangements?" Ba Fengyan wiped his eyes and said slowly, "Big Brother was born as a rogue cultivator and always acted alone. Naturally, he wouldn't care about his family. However, as his sworn brother, I have already arranged for the Luo family's disciples to not be oppressed by other strong cultivators. If Big Brother knew, he would be relieved." When Sun heard this, he really wanted to spit out the tea in his mouth and cursed fiercely in his heart. Ba Fengyan knew that with his elder brother Luo Kuan's age, he would definitely keep an eye on him. After Luo Kuan left, this 2nd city lord searched through his immortal cave and the Luo family's people. Sun secretly hated himself for being in seclusion for such a long time. He had always been thinking about the treasures in Luo Kuan's hands. Now, it seemed that those treasures had either been taken into the coffin by that old man, or they had fallen into Ba Fengyan's pocket. However, even if Sun knew that Ba Fengyan was doing this, there was nothing he could do. Not only was his 2nd brother's demonic energy profound, but he also had several astonishing secret techniques. His strength and divine abilities were stronger than his own. Moreover, unlike him, Ba Fengyan's son, Ba Yongkai, was also a nascent soul cultivator. The father and son cultivated the same cultivation method, and they trusted each other very much. Their combined strength was much stronger than his. Ba Fengyan looked at the long-browed old man's complicated expression and said without changing his expression, "Third brother, now is not the time to miss big brother. Have you heard the recent rumors?" When Sunan heard this, he couldn't help but narrow his eyes. "Second brother, are you talking about the blood-refining sect?" Ba Fengyan poured a cup of tea and said, "There are rumors outside that when old Devil Pang was breaking through to the spirit-severing stage, he was ambushed by his disciple, Qian Jingshan, and died." Sun An's white eyebrows trembled. "If old Devil Pang failed to break through to the spirit-severing stage, I would believe it. As for being ambushed by Qian Jingshan, it must be a rumor. Qian Jingshan is the same as us, a mid-nascent soul cultivator. I'm afraid he couldn't even take a single blow from old Devil Pang. Besides, why would someone like old Devil Pang let others get close to him when he was breaking through?" Ba Fengyan said, "Although it's false, the blood-refining sect didn't say anything in the 3 years since the rumors came out, as if they had tacitly agreed." Sunan was a little surprised. "Second brother, you mean old Devil Pang has already?" Ba Fengyan's eyes flickered. "As far as I know, old Devil Pang is older than big brother Luo Kuan. If he succeeded in breaking through, why would the blood-refining sect be quiet for 3 years?" Sunan was a little excited. If he failed to break through, it means that old Devil Pang's lifespan is exhausted. The Seven Fiends sect and the Yin Yang sect will definitely take action against the blood-refining sect. If the 3 sects fight, then it's time for our monolith city to fish in troubled waters. Ba Fengyan chuckled. The blood-refining sect isn't that easy to deal with. Although they lost their great cultivators, Situ Hao and Lu Yanjun are still there. Apart from cultivating the blood demon arts, they are also proficient in dual cultivation. Their combined strength isn't inferior to any great cultivator. The Seven Fiends sect and the Yin Yang sect are on guard against each other. They won't mobilize all their forces. When the time comes, they will definitely seek help from the devil cultivators of the West Continent. Sunan smiled. "That's right. Our monolith city is right next to the blood-refining sect's territory. If the Seven Fiends sect and the Yin Yang sect really want to attack the blood-refining sect, they will definitely come to us first." Ba Fengyan revealed a mysterious smile. "Not long ago, the Yin Yang sect contacted me. They are the furthest away from us, and have no conflict of interest with Monolith City. The Rogue Cultivator Alliance is their best choice." Sunan asked, "What does the Yin Yang sect want us to do?" Ba Fengyan said, "This is confidential. I have already arranged for Ba Yongkai to go to the Yin Yang sect. He should be back soon." Sunan revealed a greedy expression. Without old Demon Pang, the blood-refining sect is definitely no match for the other 2 sections. When the time comes, the entire South Continent will be divided by the 2 devil sects. We can ask for a part of the blood-refining sect's territory. For example, the area west of the Death Abyss. There are many spirit mines there. One of them even has a chance of producing devil stones. Ba Fengyan shook his head. "No hurry. Let's wait for Ba Yongkai to come back and see the Yin Yang sect's conditions first. I think the Seven Fiends sect will also contact us in the near future. At that time we can fight for the best conditions." Sunan smiled. "Wonderful. This way we can fight for the best benefits. It seems that our monolith city's opportunity has arrived." Ba Fengyan's eyes revealed a look of approval. Then, his expression turned serious. "However, we still have to be careful in this sect war. There are many old monsters in the 3 devil sects with amazing abilities. If we are not careful, we might be in danger of dying." Then, he took out a flickering jade slip and said, "Recently, I have obtained a life-saving secret art. I will give it to third brother to study. Make preparations first. When Ba Yonkai comes back, I will discuss it with third brother. Sun Un took the jade slip and scanned it with his consciousness. He found that it was actually his big brother Luo Kuan's life-saving secret art. His right hand trembled. He pretended to be calm and said, "Thank you, second brother. I will go back and study it now." Looking at Sun Un, who left in a hurry, a trace of imperceptible coldness flashed in the depths of Ba Fengyan's eyes. That old bastard probably won't know until he dies that I, Ba Fengyan, am a disciple of the blood-refining sect. It's just that I have been hiding in the West Continent. Otherwise, with old Demon Pang's temper, how could he not intervene in Monolith City? Without old Demon Pang, the blood-refining sect might not have the highest combat strength, but their strength will increase instead. This Devil Dao overlord used the true devil intent to seal the Blood Demon Cave, forcing the nascent soul cultivators who cultivate the Blood Demon art to consult him about the follow-up cultivation of the Blood Demon art. Thus, he firmly controlled the blood-refining sect in his hands. Situ Hao and Lu Yanjun relied on the dual cultivation secret art to coincidentally break through to the mid-stage nascent soul realm. If the restriction of the Blood Demon Cave is lifted, those old bastards who cultivate the Blood Demon art will definitely advance further. Thinking of this, a trace of fear flashed in Ba Fengyan's eyes. Qian Jingshan has entered the late-stage nascent soul realm. His illusions are extremely terrifying. With the help of his illusions, those old monsters can even burst out with stronger combat strength. P.S. This book will be free for a limited time from March 6 to 8. I estimate that I will write more than 10 chapters during these days. You can read it on that day. Chapter 901. Somewhere in the western region of the state of Qi, a dark green streak of light was flying in the sky of the western region. It emitted a terrifying nascent soul stage aura, causing all the cultivators to hold their breaths for fear of provoking such a terrifying nascent soul stage expert. Ba Yonkai flew in the direction of the Monolith City with a myriad of thoughts in his mind. Father probably didn't expect that the Yin-Yang sect and the Seven Fiends sect had already agreed on a joint plan. The two demonic sects would attack the blood-refining sect from two different directions and formulate a detailed strategy. They will distribute the inheritance and resources of the blood-refining sect according to the ratio of contribution points. Originally, the Seven Fiends sect was slightly weaker than the Yin-Yang sect. However, they have roped in the 5 sects and 3 clans of the western region, and their overall strength has greatly increased. This way, even though the Sacred Yin-Yang sect has 2 great cultivators, Sacred Master Yang and Sacred Master Yin, the rest of their mid-tier and high-end cultivators are much weaker. Right now, they can only work with us to suppress the Seven Fiends sect and obtain more war contribution points. Ba Yonkai sighed. He didn't expect the 2 demonic sects to be so decisive. After confirming the news of old Fiend Pang's death, they immediately took action. In an instant, the forces of the eastern region, northern region, and western region were all stirred up. At this time, Ba Yonkai had a deeper understanding of old Fiend Pang's strength. A few decades ago, this powerful demonic cultivator had looked for him. At that time, old Fiend Pang had concealed his aura. He didn't feel anything other than some pressure. Now, it seemed that the number 1 great cultivator of the state of Qi had suppressed the 3 great cultivators of the Seven Fiends sect and the Yin-Yang sect by himself. He was so powerful that it made one's hair stand on end. A trace of worry flashed in Ba Yonkai's eyes. Without old Fiend Pang, the blood-refining sect's strength has greatly decreased. Why does Father still insist on cooperating with the blood-refining sect? Could it be that the blood-refining sect still has a hidden great cultivator? His expression changed, as if he had thought of something. Right, the miraculous gate of the Wei state has an agreement with the blood-refining sect. When Shi Jingtian destroyed the Yang clan, He had already reached the peak of the mid-nascent soul stage. After 100 years of seclusion, could he have entered the great cultivator realm and helped the blood-refining sect? The other two sects have 3 grand cultivators. Their strength is overwhelming. Ba Yongkai shook his head again. Forget it, it's useless for me to think too much. Father knows more about the blood-refining sect. He must have his reasons for forming an alliance with the blood-refining sect even after knowing about old Demon Pang's death. I just need to tell him about the Yin-Yang sect. Besides, even if the blood-refining sect is not strong enough, we won't lose anything. If we arrange things properly, we might be able to kill a few nascent soul realm cultivators. Ba Yongkai's eyes were filled with greed. Ever since he entered the nascent soul stage, he rarely had the chance to kill others and steal their treasures. His cultivation had also stagnated. This large-scale war was his chance. Thinking of this, Ba Yongkai sped up and streaked across the sky in a dark green arc. Gradually, a gigantic boulder, hundreds of miles long and wide, appeared on the horizon. Ba Yongkai suddenly frowned when he was about 100 miles away from Monolith City. Who dares to break the rules and attack people within 100 miles of the Monolith City? Bloodfang is the one maintaining the city defense formation today. How come he didn't notice? Ba Yongkai used his divine sense to explore the location of the battle. He saw a burly bald man lying on the ground. His body was faintly emitting core formation stage demonic chi. His divine sense was very weak, as if he was on the verge of death. A pair of grayish-black withered hands were strangling the bald man's neck. They were emitting an extremely dense yin chi. A gray light flashed and the burly man and his withered hands disappeared. Under the soil on the ground, an obscure yin chi was flashing and moving quickly towards the distance. If Ba Yongkai didn't have the powerful divine sense of a nascent soul stage cultivator, he might not have noticed it. Such dense yin chi. Could it be a bronze-armored corpse? When did the creatures of the death abyss become so bold? Not only did they leave the abyss, but they also came to ambush our Monolith City. Ba Yongkai looked in the direction of the Monolith City. He was pleasantly surprised when he found that the nascent soul stage cultivator maintaining the city defense formation didn't notice it. This is just the edge of the formation, and it's a high-grade bronze-armored corpse. It's normal that Bloodfang didn't notice it. I don't dare to enter the death abyss, but this bronze-armored corpse ran out on its own. Don't blame me. Ba Yongkai carefully sensed the direction of the bronze-armored corpse with his divine sense. He restrained his demonic chi and turned into an invisible streak of light, closely following the yin chi underground. Ba Yongkai was a rogue cultivator. He wouldn't let go of any opportunity to increase his strength. The bronze-armored corpse could be considered a great help. Even if he didn't want it, he could use it to exchange. The death abyss was guarded by level 10 dark insects. Nascent soul stage cultivators didn't dare to rashly enter, and core formation stage cultivators couldn't defeat the bronze-armored corpse in that environment. As a result, high-level zombies were extremely rare in the outside world. For nascent soul stage cultivators who were proficient in corpse refining, the value of the bronze-armored corpse was extremely high. After following the corpse for more than 10 miles, Ba Yongkai estimated that the battle wouldn't spread to the Monolith City. He raised his demonic chi and a dark green jade ruler shot out. It quickly sank into the soil where the bronze-armored corpse had escaped. The bronze-armored corpse, stealthily moving underground, felt the terrifying pressure of a nascent soul stage cultivator. It let out a wave of panic. Its yin chi fluctuated violently, as if it wanted to speed up its escape. However, Ba Yongkai launched a sneak attack. Coupled with the attack speed of a nascent soul stage magic weapon, the bronze-armored corpse didn't have time to do anything. Boom! A huge explosion resounded. Accompanied by countless flashes of spiritual light, a huge pit dozens of feet wide was blasted open in the ground. The bronze-armored corpse was half-kneeling in the middle. Its yin-chi had weakened by more than half. However, its grayish-black flesh was slightly damaged. It didn't seem to have suffered too much damage. The green ruler floated above its head. A dark green demonic chi enveloped its body and imprisoned it in place. As for the burly man's body, it was lying to the side. There was no sign of his soul. He was obviously dead. Ba Yonkai's divine sense swept over and was pleasantly surprised. It's actually a top-notch bronze-armored corpse. Its yin-chi is so powerful. It's only a step away from becoming a silver-armored corpse. No wonder it took the risk to launch a sneak attack on a core formation stage cultivator. Only by swallowing and refining a large amount of gold cores can it break through to the silver-armored corpse stage. The cultivation of zombies was extremely slow. It would often take them over 1,000 years to reach the realm of bronze-armored zombies. Every breakthrough after that would take a long time. The zombie before him was close to breaking through, which meant that he only needed to pay a small price to help it break through. If this bronze-armored corpse could successfully break through and become a silver-armored corpse, which was comparable to an early nascent soul stage cultivator, then Ba Yonkai's strength would immediately skyrocket. Old Monster Ma of the blood refining sect had a silver-armored corpse servant. Although both were only early nascent soul stage cultivators, when they joined forces, their battle prowess was close to a mid-nascent soul stage cultivator. Wait, something's wrong. Ba Yonkai raised his eyebrows and turned his head to look at the bald man who was lying in the pit. Under the attack of my green ruler, the bronze-armored corpse's body was intact. Why is this core formation demonic chi cultivator's body also unscathed? At this moment, the dead bald man suddenly opened his eyes and looked at Ba Yonkai. The muscles on his face twisted and turned into a face with thick eyebrows and big eyes. The bald man smiled, revealing a mouthful of white teeth. Chapter 902. It's you. Ba Yonkai's pupils shrank as he immediately recognized him. It was the guy who used his physical strength to withstand the attack of a nascent soul stage cultivator. This person also had 200 magic treasures in his body. After using a secret technique, his escape light was comparable to a mid-nascent soul stage cultivator. No, this is a trap. Ba Yonkai's expression changed. This guy who was covered in muscles could withstand the power of his nascent soul stage. His physical defense was even more terrifying than the bronze-armored corpse. How could he be killed by the bronze-armored corpse? Just as these thoughts flashed through his mind, he felt the air around him tighten abruptly, and a terrifying brute force gushed out from all directions, bringing along a wave of unfamiliar fluctuations as it pressed down on his body. The mana shield outside his body even emitted creaking sounds, as if it was unable to bear the burden. Ba Yonkai's body trembled as he revealed a look of fear. What kind of terrifying magic is this? Is there a nascent soul stage cultivator hiding in the dark? Accompanied by an explosion, a hole appeared on the ground below the bald man. The burly figure appeared in front of him, as if it had teleported. Ba Yonkai was stunned as he realized that the confinement force in the void had suddenly disappeared. The bald man's eyes were cold. He stretched out his left hand and raised his index and middle fingers. An astonishing treasure light soared into the sky as a force field rotated around his fingers like an invisible whirlwind. The surface of his fingers was wrapped in a layer of dazzling silver light. At the tip of his index and middle fingers, there were two small vortexes floating. The bald man's expression was focused. His left arm quickly expanded and his thick muscles twisted in a unique rhythm. The two small vortexes on his fingertips trembled slightly and fused together. The series of movements of his fingers happened almost in an instant. An incomparably terrifying pressure spread out from it. Ba Yonkai's face suddenly became pale. No matter how slow his reaction was, he understood that there were no other nascent soul stage cultivators here. It was the guy in front of him who actually used a few decades to enter the nascent soul stage from the mid-nascent soul stage. The magic he used was even more unheard of. Ba Yonkai felt the aura of death emitted by this finger. He had no time to dodge, and could only desperately inject the power of his nascent soul stage into the barrier. Pucci Ba Yonkai's eyes widened. This finger was like a top-notch flying needle magic treasure. It carried a terrifying penetrating power, easily penetrating the magic shield and stabbing into his glabella. Immediately after, the thick palm opened up and was wrapped in a layer of silver light. A semicircular formless vortex appeared in the center of the palm. A powerful suction force emerged from within and Ba Yonkai's remaining body was torn apart. Large amounts of flesh and blood were stirred into a bloody mist by the semicircular vortex. The storage pouch was controlled by an unknown power and landed on the bald man's waist. A panicked expression appeared on the nascent soul's face. The sudden suction force had interrupted the teleportation ability it was about to unleash. However, just as he was about to resist the suction force and activate the teleportation technique again, the bald man stretched out his right palm. There was also a semicircular force field vortex surging on it. His palms were facing each other. Two semicircular invisible force fields formed a closed sphere, enveloping Ba Yonkai's 3-inch nascent soul. A look of despair appeared on the nascent soul's face. It could feel that there was an invisible force field rapidly rotating in the void around it. It couldn't use the teleportation ability at all. Moreover, the suction force between the two palms formed a unique balance with each other. It imprisoned the nascent soul and made it difficult to mobilize its power. Seeing this, the bald man revealed a satisfied smile. His lips moved slightly, and the copper-armored corpse turned into a ray of gray light and sank into his ribs. Then, the bald man turned into an astonishing streak of light and shot into the distance. After about a quarter of an hour, a skinny old man wearing a blood-red robe shot over from the distance. He looked at the remaining traces of dark green light in the large pit with a puzzled expression. Isn't this the azure demonic light? Who is Ba Yonkai fighting? Then, the skinny old man cast a detection spell. A few traces of Yin energy drifted out from the pit and gathered in front of him. Could it be that Ba Yonkai encountered a bronze-armored corpse nearby? But where did he go? Why didn't he enter the city? The skinny old man was puzzled. He shook his head and returned to Monolith City. Lu Kuan stood on a barren mountain at the border between the western and southern provinces of the state of Qi. His powerful mid-nascent soul spirit was fluctuating in a unique way. The dark green nascent soul between his palms was twitching non-stop with a dispirited expression. The corpse priest stood beside Lu Kuan and looked at the nascent soul with eager eyes. His gray-black tongue licked his lips from time to time, revealing an expression of extreme desire. Lu Kuan was currently using a nascent soul cultivator's unique ability, the soul-searching technique. Fortunately, this secret technique only relied on the power of one's spirit. If it required the power of a nascent soul, Lu Kuan would have no chance with this practical technique. Lu Kuan had already been in the bone transformation stage for 4 years. Thus, he had a much deeper understanding of physique cultivation's combat skills. What he used just now was the Whirlpool Finger and the Origin Cage, two newly created combat skills. The Whirlpool Finger was based on his conjecture. It compressed the Origin energy field at the tip of one's finger. It was equivalent to condensing one's physical strength into a single point. Currently, he could only condense a small portion of his physical strength. Even so, the penetrative power of the Whirlpool Finger was incomparably terrifying. It easily broke through an early nascent soul cultivator's barrier. As for the Origin Energy Cage, Lu Kuan used the special characteristics of the Origin Energy Whirlpool to cast a controlling ability to imprison Ba Yonkai's nascent soul. After half an hour, Lu Kuan stopped using the soul-searching technique. The nascent soul in the origin energy cage was extremely weak, and its soul was barely there. Lu Kuan shook his head and said somewhat tiredly, "I've searched this guy's soul 3 times. Its soul is on the verge of dissipating. If you devour and refine it, there shouldn't be any problems." After saying this, he removed the origin energy cage from his palms and threw the extremely weak nascent soul to Priest Corp. The latter couldn't wait any longer. He stretched out his long and narrow tongue and wrapped the nascent soul, swallowing it in one gulp. Soon after, the cold energy in Priest Corpse's body began to surge violently. From time to time, waves of nascent soul energy would surge out. Lu Kuan's eyes flashed with a golden light. He observed the situation inside Priest Corpse's body and pondered. He returned to the state of Qi because he had a few important things to do. One of them was to help Priest Corpse break through. If Priest Corpse could become a silver-armored corpse, then he would have more confidence in destroying the miraculous gate. According to Lu Kuan's judgment, devouring and refining nascent souls was the key to becoming a silver-armored corpse. Therefore, he had to capture a nascent soul alive. Ba Yongkai, who had fought with him and was mentioned by old Demon Pang, became his target. He inquired from Yu Longfei and learned that Ba Yongkai, Demon King Qing Luo, was the deputy city lord of Monolith City. This person was secretly cooperating with the blood refining sect. When the 3 great demon sects were about to erupt into a war, he would definitely take action. As Lu Kuan expected, Ba Yongkai had only stayed in Monolith City for a little more than a year before he seized the opportunity. Priest Corpse absorbed the inner core of the Razor Nether Scorpion. The cold energy in his body is incomparably dense. However, the nascent soul energy is of a higher level. The consumption of the cold energy is enormous. This place is not suitable for a silver-armored corpse to break through. Lu Kuan immediately thought of a suitable place. He wrapped Priest Corpse in the origin energy field and shot towards the state of Wei. Chapter 903. The Land of Death was located between the state of Wei and the state of Chu. It was filled with cold energy and low-level undead creatures. There were also many remnants of ancient restrictions. Ordinary Foundation establishment stage cultivators would have to take a great risk to pass through the Land of Death. North of the Death Scar, this area of undead creatures would gradually sink, forming a death canyon that stretched for thousands of miles. This canyon was located between Chu, Qi, and Wei. It was about 10 zhang deep. It was a stretch to call it a canyon, so the surrounding cultivators called it the Death Scar. At the northern end of the Death Scar was the famous Death Abyss in Qi, located in the territory of Blood Refining Sect. One day, Lu Kuan took Priest Corpse, who was in a cultivating state, to the border between the Death Scar and the Abyss. Lu Kuan scanned the surrounding area with his strong spirit power, then reached the entrance of an underground cave. Lu Kuan directly brought Priest Corpse into the cave. Soon, countless squeaking sounds came from inside. A large number of gray rats scurried out of the cave. Their cries were filled with terror. Hundreds of gray rats had cold energy inside their bodies. Except for 10 or so of them who were at Foundation establishment, the rest were all Qi refining level undead creatures. In the deepest part of the cave, all kinds of pale white bones were scattered on the ground. There were also a few unknown herbs. In the corner of the cave, a watermelon-sized black-furred rat was crawling on the ground. Its shiny black tail was curled up, and its fat body was trembling. Its big eyes were filled with terror. Lu Kuan placed Priest Corpse in the center of the cave. Feeling the dense cold energy, he frowned and sighed. This is already the place with the densest cold energy in the Death Scar. From Ba Yongkai's memories, the Death Abyss is a forbidden area for nascent soul cultivators. It is filled with cold energy. There is no spirit energy or devil energy. Cultivators who enter the Death Abyss will have their fighting power greatly reduced. Moreover, there are level 10 existences in the death abyss. Some nascent soul cultivators have fallen in there. Lu Kuan recalled the high-level nether insect he encountered in the Yuan secret realm. That razor-venomous scorpion was still alright. Purely based on its physical body, it was a level 9 underworld insect. With his current cultivation and strength, that scorpion would not be his match even if it was in its best condition. What he was afraid of was the other fellow. That fellow's divine sense was unfathomable. It was the nether insect that lived in the nether flying ant's body. Using his divine sense as a reference, that fellow was very likely a level 10 nether insect, an existence comparable to a grand cultivator. To be safe, Lu Kuan came to the scar of death. Although the Yin energy here was sparser than in the abyss of death, it wasn't bad. Otherwise, the little mouse in front of him wouldn't be at the core formation stage. Little guy, just stay here. Who knows, this might be your opportunity. The little black rat seemed to understand. It looked at the zombie behind the terrifying man and felt the violent fluctuations of cold Yin energy. Its eyes revealed a hint of intelligence. However, Lu Kuan was thinking that if Priest Corpse didn't have enough cold power, he could replenish it with the inner Dan of this little mouse. Secretly locking on this level 5 zombie rat with his divine sense, Lu Kuan's eyes glowed with a golden light as he carefully observed Priest Corpse. After his spiritual power had reached the middle nascent soul stage, Lu Kuan's golden eyes had become more powerful as well. Now, he could clearly see the circulation of the energy inside Priest Corpse's body. He saw that the 3-inch small nascent soul was wrapped up by a great amount of cold power inside Priest Corpse's body. Wisps of nascent soul power outside were separated into the zombie Dan, then transformed into a magical stream of energy and spread out into the zombie's body. Seeing this, Lu Kuan couldn't help but show a curious look. He thought that Priest Corpse refined the nascent soul to turn the cold power into the nascent soul power, so that the zombie Dan could possess such a high level of energy. Unexpectedly, the nascent soul power was used to nourish the zombie's body. The energy that was refined by the zombie Dan first entered Priest Corpse's bones, making them shake slightly. Nourished by the energy, the gray-black color of the bones gradually faded, and the gray-black muscles of the zombie began shaking as well, seeming to be going through some kind of change as well. But right at this moment, Priest Corpse's spirit suddenly started shaking. Although Ba Yonkai's soul was weakened to an extreme degree, it hadn't dissipated after all. The instinct of survival made his broken soul subconsciously resist. Lu Kuan pondered for a while, then waved his hand. An 8-feet-long yellow coffin appeared in the air, then he put Priest Corpse's body into it. This coffin was made from spirit creature soulwood, which could nourish the soul. Priest Corpse's spirit was supported by the coffin and immediately gained the upper hand, suppressing Ba Yonkai's weakened soul. But then, maybe because of the resistance of the nascent soul, or because the cold power of the zombie Dan was consumed too quickly, the refining speed of the nascent soul became extremely slow. The energy that nourished the zombie's body was interrupted, and the color of the zombie's bones showed signs of darkening again. Seeing this, Lu Kuan reached out his hand without hesitation. The fat rat beside him was sucked into his hand by the power of the void. Lu Kuan gently clenched his hand and crushed the fat rat's head. He then took out an inner core from its body and threw it into Priest Corpse's mouth. This inner core was only at level 5, but it contained the essence of the cold power. It immediately replenished Priest Corpse's energy, and the refining speed of the nascent soul sped up a bit. But Lu Kuan knew that this was just drinking poison to quench thirst, and the level 5 inner core would be consumed up very soon. In the scar of death, the undead creatures above level 5 were extremely scattered, and many of them were hidden underground. He couldn't hunt too many of them in a short time. Back then, Qian Jingshan used the corpses of devil zombies to create his clone. These corpses belonged to devil zombies above level 8, so they shouldn't need the nourishment of energy. Besides, the nether devil power in the devil zombies' bodies is much more powerful than the cold power. Plus, Qian Jingshan's secret magic was able to refine old Devil Pang's nascent soul so quickly. Lu Kuan's mind raced. Priest Corpse's body is weaker than the devil zombies. Apart from stripping the power of the nascent soul, the zombie Dan also needs to consume the cold power to nourish the body. That's why the refining of the nascent soul is so slow. But Priest Corpse has already absorbed the inner core of a level 9 nether bug, which contains the cold power of the middle stage of the nascent soul level. The energy of the zombie Dan should be more than that. Could it be that the inner core of the blade scorpion hasn't been completely refined yet? Thinking of this, Lu Kuan's eyes suddenly shone. Right, let's try using the holy relic of the Nether Bug clan. A bright light sparkled in his hand, within which a white crystal with clear edges and 8 glowing surfaces floated in the air. A strange sense of power spread out from the crystal. Priest Corpse seemed to be affected by something, as a strong cold power suddenly burst out from his corpse Dan. It's working. Lu Kuan put this holy relic on Priest Corpse's chest, near the zombie Dan. Under the influence of the holy relic, an incomparably strong cold power gushed out from the zombie Dan, even suppressing the cold power in the cave. Lu Kuan was pleasantly surprised. This new cold power was actually at the nascent soul level. Just as he had guessed, the inner core of the blade scorpion hasn't been completely refined yet. At this moment, under the stimulation of the holy relic, it was immediately activated. Being refined by the cold power at this level, the small nascent soul shrank at a visible speed. The power of the nascent soul was quickly refined, while the zombie Dan absorbed a great amount of energy, nourishing Priest Corpse's body. Except for the gray color of his bones, those stiff muscles of Priest Corpse began squirming. Nourished by the power of the nascent soul, black pieces of rotten flesh fell off one after another. The color of his muscles turned completely gray, and a layer of gray skin grew on the outside. As for the hideous zombie face of Priest Corpse, along with the squirming of his facial muscles and the falling of his rotten flesh, it gradually turned soft. Chapter 904. On this day, the cold energy at the border of the Death Scar and the abyss suddenly fluctuated violently, as if it was attracted by something. It turned into a gray mist whirlpool and converged towards a cave. An enormous pressure that was completely different from that of a human cultivator spread out from the center of the cave. All the undead creatures within 15 kilometers showed expressions of fear and unconsciously prostrated themselves, as if they were celebrating the birth of a king. As for the creatures beyond 30 miles, they fled in terror, wishing they had 2 more legs. Soon, a large number of dead creatures were fleeing in groups in the Death Scar. Some low-level cultivators who were adventuring in the Death Scar were dumbfounded by the changes of the dead creatures, not knowing what had happened. Some of them were quite clever. They immediately returned to their sects and informed their elders of the strange phenomenon. The Death Abyss was only 50 miles away from here. Many high-level dead creatures had sensed the strange phenomenon here. Even the level 8 creatures in the depths of the Death Scar could somewhat sense it. Those level 8 and above undead creatures were all in disbelief after discovering that the fluctuation came from the Death Scar. Due to the thin energy in the Scar of Death and the Land of Death, immortal cultivators often appeared. At most, there would be some level 5 undead creatures. If they wanted to continue to break through, they would have to enter the abyss of death and rely on the purer energy. Now, the strange phenomenon in the Death Scar was obviously caused by someone breaking through to level 8. Where did this guy come from? How could he break through by relying on the thin cold energy? A few high-level undead creatures couldn't help but cast their escape arts, darting towards the edge of the Death Abyss. Inside the underground cave, Priest Corpse was still lying in the coffin. A large amount of cold energy was absorbed into his body. His body emitted a pressure comparable to an early nascent soul cultivator. A strong spiritual power was rising in Priest Corpse's body, advancing towards the nascent soul stage. As long as this spiritual power stabilized, Priest Corpse would completely enter the realm of Silver Armored Corpse. Lu Kuan stood outside the coffin with a serious expression. As Priest Corpse's spiritual power rolled, a rebellious intent accompanied by a strong sense of bloodthirst attacked his soul. When he subdued Priest Corpse, he used the soul control technique of the Nine Spectres sect. This secret technique could at most control the bronze armored corpse. Facing the silver armored corpse that was about to break through, there was a problem. Lu Kuan came out this time for Priest Corpse's breakthrough, so he naturally expected this situation. 3 years ago, all the core disciples of the Spirit Transformation sect migrated to the Eastern Pond State. Fairy Fong Yuan used the power of the Oath Stone to make the disciples belong to the body refining pavilion. Therefore, Lu Kuan asked Fairy Fong Yuan for the secret technique to control Class 8 demonic beasts. This secret technique of the Spirit Transformation sect was extremely powerful. As long as a Class 8 demon beast was in a weakened state, the core formation stage cultivators of the Spirit Transformation sect could use this secret technique to subdue it. Level 8 monsters and silver armored corpses had something in common. They didn't have nascent souls, only inner cores. Moreover, their souls were also at the nascent soul stage. Since this secret technique could be used on level 8 monsters, it should be effective on silver armored corpses as well. Lu Kuan recalled this technique in his mind. He patted his chest and spat out a ball of dense blood essence. In an instant, a majestic power of blood essence filled the narrow cave. He then mobilized the life force in his body and temporarily split his demon energy into magic power and demonic power. His spiritual power began to circulate rapidly. This secret technique used his spiritual power and blood essence to form a unique control rune. Core formation stage magic power could be used. After Lu Kuan split his demon energy, he could barely use it. Not long after, under the enhancement of the secret technique, this thick mass of blood essence transformed into a profound blood essence rune. Lu Kuan waved his hand and injected the rune into the silver armored corpse's body while its soul was still in the process of transformation. If it was a level 8 monster, the blood essence rune would be imprinted on the inner core. Although Corpse Priest wasn't a monster, he also had a corpse core. The only difference was that one contained demonic spiritual power while the other contained Yin energy. The moment the blood essence rune was imprinted on the corpse core, a mini scorpion shadow darted out of the corpse core. It dodged the rune mark and shot towards the underworld insect sacred artifact. Lu Kuan was shocked, but he didn't slow down. An invisible force field appeared around the underworld insect sacred artifact. Just as the mini scorpion shadow left the silver armored corpse's body, it was crushed into pieces by the force of the void. I didn't expect the razor-venomous scorpion to have a part of its soul hidden in its inner core. If it weren't for this secret technique of the Spirit Transformation sect, I'm afraid it would still be hiding. Lu Kuan murmured and continued to operate the secret technique. A layer of rune mark gradually appeared outside the corpse core. Soon after, a restrictive force was emitted from the corpse core and disappeared into the transforming soul. Lu Kuan furrowed his brows. Although the resistance in the soul had disappeared, there was still a strong sense of bloodthirst. This sense of bloodthirst didn't decrease, but instead grew stronger. Lu Kuan's mind moved. He suddenly remembered Hong Yuntian's note. In order to comprehend the underworld demonic energy, that guy cultivated the Yin energy. Later on, he devoured the flesh and blood of demonic zombies to resist the bloodthirst. Zombies are transformed from immortal cultivators' corpses by absorbing the Yin energy. After I controlled their souls, they were connected to the silver-armored corpse's soul. Therefore, the bloodthirst will affect me. Demonic corpses contain the aura of demonic energy and a huge amount of qi and blood. Lu Kuan's blood essence is even more powerful. He directly spat out a mouthful of blood essence and directly sent it into the silver-armored corpse's mouth. Almost in the blink of an eye, the blood essence was digested. Rich qi and blood power surged on the silver-armored corpse's gray body. The somewhat withered gray skin gradually showed a bit of moisture. Sure enough, Lu Kuan felt that the bloodthirst in his mind was reduced by more than half. He spat out another mouthful of blood essence and sent it into the silver-armored corpse's mouth. The next moment, the bloodthirst completely disappeared. Lu Kuan cultivated the blood demon bone refining technique during the bone treasure stage. This secret technique was born out of the blood demon art. It could increase the density of blood. His blood density was extremely high. These few mouthfuls of blood essence had almost no effect on him. In Ba Yongkai's memory, there was a nascent soul stage elder in the blood refining sect who also had a silver-armored corpse as a servant. Did this guy also eliminate the bloodthirst through blood essence? If there is a chance in the future, I should communicate with him. As this thought flashed through his mind, Lu Kuan looked at the silver-armored corpse in the coffin. The silver-armored corpse's soul fluctuations had completely stabilized. It emitted the power of the early nascent soul stage spirit sense. However, new changes had occurred to its zombie body. In the process of refining the nascent soul, the zombie's face had already broken away from its original ferocious appearance. After absorbing his blood essence, it actually transformed into the appearance of a dignified and beautiful woman. The silver-armored corpse's withered and stiff gray body became very agile under the nourishment of the qi and blood power. The shriveled gray muscles on its chest quickly filled up. The rich corpse aura completely disappeared. What was emitted was an incomparably cold yin aura. The woman's eyelids trembled slightly. She opened her eyes, revealing a pair of silver eyes that emitted a beautiful luster. Her mouth slightly opened, and a clear voice came out, "Master." Lu Kuan's face was sluggish. He didn't expect that the silver-armored corpse's body would undergo such a great change after absorbing the boundless blood essence. Moreover, the corpse priest was actually a female zombie. Chapter 905. The strange phenomenon of the cold yin energy and the strange movement of the undead creature gradually attracted a few core formation cultivators. They were all elders of the small sects and families nearby. According to the description of the younger generation, they knew that this was most likely a phenomenon caused by a high-level undead creature breaking through. Thus, these few core formation cultivators formed a temporary team and followed the cold yin energy to investigate. As a result, their divine senses detected that the core of the phenomenon was a huge pit. There were also a few hideous teeth marks on the edge of the pit, as if it was bitten by some terrifying creature. At the bottom of the pit, there was an unfathomably deep hole that emitted a pure cold yin energy, accompanied by a terrifying aura. When these few core formation cultivators saw this scene, they looked at the death abyss in the distance. After exchanging glances, they immediately turned into streaks of light and fled. What a joke! Such a powerful aura must be an undead creature above the 8th level, and the underground hole led to the death abyss. The phenomenon just now was most likely caused by some existence breaking through to the 8th level. It seemed that it had entered the death abyss, but what if it was hiding in the hole? To an undead creature, a core formation cultivator's golden core was a great supplement. 100 miles away, a huge beetle that was 70 to 80 feet long drilled out of the gray ground of the death abyss. This black beetle was covered in an extremely thick chitin armor, emitting a powerful aura that was even stronger than that of an ordinary early nascent soul cultivator. The 16 pairs of insect legs under its body slid rapidly, carrying its huge body forward. Its wind-like speed was very inconsistent with its 70 to 80 feet long body. The black beetle crawled on the solid ground of the abyss for over 1,000 miles, until it reached the deepest part of the death abyss. This was a huge gray nest with countless intersecting rock tunnels. All kinds of strange flying ants flew back and forth in the tunnels. "King, I've brought back the thing." The beetle's feelers trembled, and an early nascent soul stage divine sense was transmitted. Not long after, a flying ant the size of a fist flew out from the outermost hole. Although its body did not have much cold energy, it emitted a terrifying divine sense. The black beetle felt the divine sense and bent its 16 pairs of insect legs. Its huge body crawled on the ground, and its feelers drooped down. "Let me see." The black beetle opened its huge mouth, and a huge rock that seemed to be the structure of a cave fell on the ground beside it. There seemed to be some kind of power protecting it, making the cave undamaged. The flying ant released a huge amount of divine sense and carefully probed inside. Not long after, a small ball of cold energy was extracted by it. Fey Ant said via telepathy, "Black armor, you haven't been discovered by the immortal cultivators, have you?" The black beetle said respectfully, "Before breaking the seal of the abyss, I specially checked the area. There were no high-level immortal cultivators. When I came back, the seal of the abyss had automatically healed." The flying ant's antennae shook twice. "Alright, you can go back. I've already taught you the method from last time. Whether or not you can break through to the 9th level will depend on your own luck." The black beetle was still crawling on the ground. Its 16 pairs of legs were trembling slightly. It slowly retreated several hundred feet before it turned around and crawled away. The flying ant's compound eyes stared at the ball of cold energy in front of it, and its divine sense was a little puzzled. "The aura of the nether scorpion and the nether insect sacred item. That guy's soul has already been devoured by me, and his body was also destroyed by that immortal cultivator who transformed into the long-armed demon ape. The nether insect race that immortal cultivators can control can only be low-grade zombies. Could that immortal cultivator have broken through to the 8th level through the nether scorpion's nether core and the nether insect's sacred item?" The flying ant opened its mouth and swallowed the ball of cold energy. Its compound eyes shone with a strange light. "It is indeed the aura of the sacred item. When my strength improves, I can leave the abyss of death. At that time, I can retrieve the sacred item. According to the inherited memories of the nether scorpion, only with the sacred item in hand can I unleash the true strength of the insect king in this world." Then, the flying ant turned around and went back into the nest. Chu country, overseas of the Xiuan state. 9 immortal cultivators with profound auras were floating in the air. These people's auras were incomparably profound. They were all existences above the nascent soul stage. The leader was an old man with an immortal aura. He wore a Taoist robe and exuded an incomparably powerful aura. He was the great elder of the Tao-Yi school, the leader of the 10 great sects, Taoist Tao-Yi. The Tao-Yi school had set a rule that no matter what the great elder's name was, he must change it to Taoist Tao-Yi's Taoist name. As for the 8 nascent soul stage cultivators behind Taoist Tao-Yi, they were the elders of the 10 great sects of the Chu country. All of them were watching below. The famous Abyss Island in the outer seas. At this time, the Abyss Island was very different from before. The restrictive light on the island had disappeared without a trace. The once bustling island was gone. Other than the rich spiritual energy, there were no other immortal cultivators. After an unknown period of time, a huge rumbling sound came from the depths of the sea. The Abyss Island began to shake violently. The surrounding seawater was greatly compressed, forming huge waves that slammed in all directions. Following the violent shaking, the Abyss Island sank into the depths of the sea. Countless buildings on the island were smashed by the turbulent waves. The rumbling sound was incessant. The 9 nascent soul stage cultivators in the sky seemed to have known that the Abyss Island would sink. They stared at the scene below without blinking. Suddenly, in the blue sea, there was an incomparably huge shadow that separated from the bottom of the Abyss Island. This shadow was almost the same size as the Abyss Island. It swam towards the direction of the outer sea at an astonishing speed. In 10 breaths, it disappeared from everyone's sight. At this time, the Abyss Island was completely submerged by the sea. After a long time, Taoist Tao-E slowly said, "This should be that senior's black tortoise demon king. This old man just found out not long ago that the Abyss Island was built on the back of the black tortoise demon king." The other nascent soul stage cultivators also showed a complicated expression. The Abyss Island that was jointly owned by the 10 great sects was actually built on the back of a black tortoise that was comparable to the spirit severing stage. They had all cultivated on the Abyss Island before. Now that they thought about it, they couldn't help but shudder. A red-robed man couldn't help but ask, "Brother Tao-E, did Senior Een really pass away?" The other nascent soul stage cultivators also looked at Taoist Tao-E, revealing a nervous expression. Taoist Tao-E sighed. Although Senior Een had a secret technique and symbiosis with the Black Tortoise Demon King, she was after all a human cultivator. Her lifespan had already reached its limit. The only thing she could do was to restrict the Demon King from the outer sea. No matter what, the invasion of the demon beasts from the outer sea cannot be stopped. Looking around at the expressions of the other 8 people, Taoist Tao-E added, "This demon beast invasion may not be an opportunity for the cultivators of the Chu country. For tens of thousands of years, not to mention 8th-level demon beasts, even 6th and 7th-level demon beasts are very difficult to find in the inner sea. If a large number of demon beasts invade, it means a large number of demon cores." A young-looking man smiled and said, "Brother Dowie is right. Yao cores can be used to refine elixirs that can improve one's cultivation. If we can obtain a Yao core above the 8th level, our cultivation can improve further." Taoist Tao-E nodded and said with a solemn expression, "The Extreme Devil Palace is a subordinate sect of the Blood Refining sect. It has already been recalled to the southern region of the Qi Kingdom. Now there are only 9 sects left in the Chu country. We need to make a good plan. Everyone, please follow me." Then these nascent soul stage cultivators, under the leadership of Taoist Tao-E, flew inland. Chapter 906 Song Prefecture of Wei Nation. On this day, all the disciples of the Heavenly Sword sect were excited. Today was the Heavenly Sword sect's sword competition that was held every 50 years. All the Foundation Establishment sword cultivators would participate to compete for rankings and obtain rewards from the sect. Ever since the Heavenly Sword sect annexed the 9 Underworld sect a few decades ago, their strength had increased by a lot. The number of Foundation Establishment cultivators had doubled, and there were more than 200 of them. It could be said that this sword competition had the most people in the Heavenly Sword sect in thousands of years. At the same time, the competition was even more intense. All the Foundation Establishment cultivators were eager to stand out in the competition. It was said that the nascent soul elders of the Heavenly Sword sect attached great importance to this competition and specially increased the number of people in the Sword Valley from 3 to 5. In other words, the top 5 Heavenly Sword sect disciples could enter the Sword Valley to comprehend sword intent in addition to obtaining a bottle of spirit-strengthening pills to stabilize their meridians. If they could comprehend sword intent, the chances of condensing a sword core would be greatly increased. Many Foundation Establishment cultivators knew that Senior Brother Ling Hu Fei, the champion of the previous sword competition, had successfully comprehended sword intent in the Sword Valley and converted his late-stage Foundation Establishment dermic powers into sword intent dermic powers. Later on, Senior Brother Ling Hu Fei successfully broke through and entered the core formation stage. His sword intent was dense, and he could even fight against a mid-stage core formation stage martial uncle. Due to the large number of people, the sword competition was arranged in the middle section of the Heavenly Sword Peak. There was a rock platform that was a few hundred feet wide, enough to accommodate 10 arenas. As the light screens of restrictions rose from the arenas, 10 shocking sword lights appeared in the sky above the Heavenly Sword Peak. There was an elegant figure standing on each flying sword. They descended from the sky with a majestic and sharp aura and landed on the 10 arenas. The sword-intent pressure of the core formation sword cultivators made all the disciples quiet down. The voice of the core formation elder in the center resounded throughout the entire platform. You all know the rules, so I won't repeat them. However, the great elder has just issued a decree. The top 3 of this competition will receive additional rewards from the great elder. When the elder finished speaking, the eyes of the more than 20 late-stage Foundation establishment sword cultivators on the platform lit up, revealing a look of determination. The Grand Elder was a sword cultivator in the middle stage of the nascent soul stage. Not to mention the additional rewards, just being able to see the Grand Elder was enough to make them extremely excited. Outside of the third battle arena, a young man in a black robe curled his lips, as if he didn't care about the reward. He looked at the fierce Foundation establishment late-stage sword cultivators with a headache. Master is really something. He wants me to participate in the Heavenly Sword Sex Grand Competition and enter the top 5. He doesn't allow me to use the techniques of a body cultivator. Doesn't he know that these sword cultivators in the late stage of Foundation establishment have ferocious attacks? This distressed youth was Huang Xiaoyun. Originally, Lu Kuan had said that he would directly enter the Sword Valley, but later on, he changed his mind and allowed him to participate in the Heavenly Sword Sex large competition, saying that he would be able to gain a deeper understanding of the Heavenly Sword Sex techniques. I don't care. If it doesn't work, I'll just use the shuriken technique of those martial artists. Although it uses the power of the flesh, it looks similar to the flying sword technique. Well, that's it. The old man who spoke in the middle looked around and paused on Huang Xiaoyun for a moment. His gaze was a little strange, and then he announced, "The sword competition officially begins." At the top of the Heavenly Sword Peak, 3 figures sat in a pavilion. There was no sword origin wine on the stone table, but a pot of tea filled with spiritual energy. 2 of them were Yu Longfei and Lu Kuan. As for the third person, she was a beautiful woman. Her entire body emitted an icy cold aura. Although her skin was gray, it was filled with a watery luster. In addition to the color of her skin, this woman's clothing was also different from ordinary women. She wore a tight black outfit that accentuated her graceful figure. She was dressed like a mortal martial artist. Lu Kuan drank a mouthful of tea and used his divine sense to look at the sword competition below. He sighed, "Brother Yu, the Heavenly Sword Sex strength is truly extraordinary. They actually have so many Foundation establishment disciples, almost twice as many as the Yang clan in the past. The Body Refining Pavilion still has too few Foundation establishment disciples." Yu Longfei modestly said, "The Body Refining Pavilion has a powerhouse like Master Lu overseeing it. Its future development will definitely be above the Heavenly Sword Sect." He glanced at the woman beside Lu Kuan and said, "Master Lu, you've been here for a while. I haven't introduced this fairy yet." Lu Kuan's expression froze for a moment before he smiled and said, "I almost forgot. This is Serene, an elder of the Body Refining Pavilion." Yu Longfei cupped his hands towards the woman and said, "So it's Fairy Sure. Yu Longfei greets you." The woman named Serene blinked her silver eyes and ignored Yu Longfei. Instead, she looked at Lu Kuan. Lu Kuan lightly coughed and said, "Brother Yu, please don't be offended. Serene's cultivation method is special. She's not good at socializing." Yu Longfei shook his head indifferently and said, "If I'm not wrong, this fairy sure is also at the nascent soul stage." Lu Kuan nodded and said, Yes, Iner just broke through to the nascent soul stage not long ago. However, her cultivation is not stable yet. Compared to a nascent soul stage powerhouse like Brother Yu, she's far behind. Yu Longfei's mouth twitched. He didn't believe Lu Kuan's nonsense and secretly guessed the strength of this fairy Shi. With his insight, he could see that this fairy Shi had just broken through and her spiritual sense was not completely stable. However, her strength was definitely not as simple as Lu Kuan said. This fairy Shi sat opposite him. The bone-deep cold aura made his hair stand on end, and he had to use his mana to resist. The nascent soul in his body also showed a bit of uneasiness. This meant that this fairy Shi's close combat ability was the strongest. Obviously, she was the same as this Master Lu, a body-refining method. How did this body-refining pavilion develop? In more than 100 years, other than Lu Kuan, there's also a nascent soul stage cultivator. Among the disciples of the Yang clan who escaped, there doesn't seem to be this woman. Lu Kuan looked at Yu Longfei's change of expression and was a little surprised. He deliberately didn't introduce her at the beginning so that Yu Longfei could investigate. He didn't expect that this nascent soul stage sword cultivator couldn't see that Shi was actually a silver-armored corpse. Lu Kuan faintly felt that this change in the silver-armored corpse was related to his blood essence. Since the silver-armored corpse broke through 2 years ago and he fed it his blood essence, the bloodthirsty feeling would appear once every year. It had to swallow his blood essence. Lu Kuan felt that it was a little troublesome, so he simply stimulated a large amount of blood essence and fed the silver-armored corpse until it was full. According to his estimation, the silver-armored corpse wouldn't show any bloodthirsty feeling for at least 50 years. After the silver-armored corpse absorbed his majestic blood essence, the last bit of corpse chi disappeared. Except for the gray skin, it looked like a female cultivator who cultivated a Ina tribute method. Lu Kuan thought, if other cultivators subdued the silver-armored corpse, it would most likely show a bloodthirsty feeling. Not only was the blood essence of cultivators thinner than his, the power of chi and blood in it was also much weaker. Every time a cultivator fed blood essence, they should be very frugal, just to reduce the bloodthirsty feeling. Perhaps no cultivator would be like him, feeding so much blood essence. Even if a nascent soul stage cultivator's body was completely refined and squeezed dry, the blood essence wouldn't be comparable to 1 or 2 mouthfuls of Lu Kuan. Lu Kuan was completely relieved when he saw that Yu Longfei didn't find anything. With this layer of disguise, Shi would greatly reduce the vigilance of cultivators. Who would have thought that such a graceful and beautiful woman would be a ferocious and terrifying silver-armored corpse? Chapter 907. Yu Longfei secretly kept his guard up against Shi. He took a sip of tea and said, Master Lu's information was indeed correct. Old Demon Pang failed to break through to the soul formation stage and died. The 3 great demon sects of the state of Qi could erupt into war at any time. The blood-refining sect has lost this top powerhouse, and the overall strength of the sect has been greatly reduced. The blood-refining sect's subordinate sect in the Chu country, the Supreme Devil Palace, has been recalled to the southern continent. Next, it is very likely that they will ask for help from the Miraculous Gate. After all, the blood-refining sect does not have a great cultivator to oversee it. Lu Kuan shook his head and said, That's not necessarily true. I'm afraid the outside world doesn't know that Qian Jingshan of the blood-refining sect has already entered the late nascent soul stage. Besides the Supreme Devil Palace, the Rogue Cultivator Alliance of the state of Qi's western province is also an ally of the blood-refining sect. Yu Longfei's expression changed. What? Qian Jingshan has become a great cultivator, and the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. Lu Kuan said, The 7 Fiends sect and the Yinyang sect still don't know about the Rogue Cultivator Alliance and Qian Jingshan. The blood-refining sect wants to use these two underhanded methods to trick the two evil sects. That's why the blood-refining sect won't seek help from the miraculous gate in the short term. After all, Shi Jingtian was injured by old Devil Pang. Yu Longfei calmed himself down and couldn't help but sigh. The blood-refining sect is worthy of being called a great sect of the Devil Dao. Even without old monster Pang, their power is still so terrifying. They are much stronger than the Shang-Qing sect of the past. Although the combined strength of the Seven Fiends sect and the Yin-Yang sect is strong, they won't go all out. Instead, the blood-refining sect has the advantage. Lu Kuan coldly snorted, "We must put the blood-refining sect at a disadvantage. That way, they will find the miraculous gate and even let old Devil Shi come out of seclusion." Yu Longfei's expression changed. Could it be that Master Lu wants to? Lu Kuan's eyes flashed with a golden light. "I'm afraid that the people of the blood-refining sect don't know that I, Lu Kuan, know so many things. As long as I secretly obstruct them, the blood-refining sect's plan will fail." He had searched Ba Yongkai's soul and learned a lot of information. With this information and his strength, he could definitely make a deal with the two great demon sects. Regarding the refining of bone transformation weapons, he still needs a lot of reference, especially the refining method of top demonic treasures. He even needs some demonic tools. Only the top demonic sect may have these. Yu Longfei nodded gently. He completely believed that Lu Kuan had gone to the state of Qi to create trouble in secret. After being in contact with this Master Lu for so long, he could only determine that Lu Kuan's cultivation base was at the peak of the middle nascent soul stage through the latter's spiritual sense and powerful combat prowess. As for the dermic powers in Lu Kuan's body, no matter what kind of spell he used, he could not detect it. In other words, Lu Kuan could easily hide his cultivation level. Coupled with his body cultivation, he could easily blend into the battlefield of the state of Qi. Yu Longfei pondered for a moment and said, "Then the opportunity for us to start the war is when the blood-refining sect seeks help from the miraculous gate." Lu Kuan's eyes were cold as he said, "If old Devil Shi comes out, then we will immediately attack the miraculous gate. If the miraculous gate sends out other nascent soul cultivators to help the blood-refining sect, then we will join forces to ambush them. If we join forces, they will definitely die." Yu Longfei revealed a trace of excitement as he said, "Then we will kill our way to the Yang mountain range. With Fairy Shi, 2 nascent soul sword cultivators and 2 body cultivators, the 2 old fellows of the spirit sect will not be able to survive. In this way, the demon sect will only have 1 nascent soul cultivator besides old Devil Shi. When the time comes, as long as Master Lu entangles old Devil Shi, the miraculous gate will definitely be destroyed." Lu Kuan's eyes were cold as he said, "But before that, we should first settle our worries." Yu Longfei's expression changed slightly as he said with some hesitation, "Master Lu, are you talking about the Green Alliance?" "That's right. The Wei country is neither big nor small. We have to take this opportunity to completely reshuffle the cards." Lu Kuan looked at Yu Longfei and said, "Brother Yu, do you think that we can't destroy the Green Alliance?" Yu Longfei smiled bitterly and said, "With our combined strength, the Green Alliance is naturally not a problem. I'm just afraid that when we deal with the Green Alliance, the miraculous gate will be vigilant." Yu Longfei had always felt uneasy about Lu Kuan's ambition. This feeling became even stronger after he met Shi Yin. If the miraculous gate was destroyed, the heavenly sword sect's power would increase greatly. However, the body refining pavilion would be the same. The alliance between the two parties would only last for 50 years. If the body refining pavilion attacked the heavenly sword sect in the future, what would they do? With the Green Alliance, the body refining pavilion would at least be a little cautious. Although old Devil Li of the Qingyang sect had exhausted his lifespan, he used a secret technique to transfer the power of his nascent soul to a disciple of his sect. This person's cultivation would be stuck at the beginner stage of the nascent soul stage, but he would still be a nascent soul stage cultivator. Including the Heavenly Sword sect, the other powers in the Wei country had 4 nascent soul stage cultivators. They could barely maintain a balance with the body refining pavilion. Lu Kuan looked at Yu Longfei's expression and seemed to know what he was thinking. He smiled and said, "Brother Yu's words make sense. If the Green Alliance were to defend their base, it would indeed be a little troublesome. Let's put it aside for now." "Oh right, Brother Yu, you hope that Lu can teach you a secret technique that is suitable for sword cultivators to strengthen their meridians. Lu already has some ideas, but this secret technique has some limitations." Yu Longfei's spirits were lifted. He said, "Master Lu, please tell me." Lu Kuan said, "This secret technique can only be cultivated by low-level cultivators. For nascent soul stage cultivators like Brother Yu, I'm afraid you won't be able to cultivate it." Yu Longfei couldn't help but ask, "Why?" Lu Kuan explained, "This technique involves the power of life. It can only be cultivated by cultivators below the age of 50. Only by slowly nourishing the meridians can the meridians be strengthened to an extremely tough state." Yu Longfei couldn't understand. He said unwillingly, "I've already explained the situation of my meridians to Master Lu. Is there no other way to strengthen them? If you want to help Brother Yu, there's only one way." "What way?" The corner of Lu Kuan's mouth curled up. "Then I will personally control the energy unique to body cultivators to help fellow Taoist Yu strengthen his meridians. However, during the cultivation process, fellow Taoist Yu's conjured physique will be under my control. Furthermore, this method is only a preliminary idea. We don't know how effective it will be." When Yu Longfei heard this, he smiled bitterly. If Master Lu wanted to make a move on me, he would have already done so. I believe that. However, the difference between my conjured body and Master Lu's is too great. If it's damaged, then the losses will outweigh the gains. Lu Kuan said, "A technique that can be cultivated by low-level cultivators involves the core cultivation method of the body refining pavilion. I'm afraid Lu won't be able to exchange it." Yu Longfei could only reveal a regretful expression. Lu Kuan took a sip of spirit tea. In fact, he didn't have any secret technique to strengthen his meridians. If he wanted to strengthen his meridians, then he would have to cultivate his body refining art from the beginning. He knew what Yu Longfei was thinking. If the Heavenly Rapier sect had a secret technique to strengthen their meridians, not to mention the entire sect, Yu Longfei's own strength would increase by a lot. At the very least, it would be much easier to use the ability to absorb the sharpness into his body. Lu Kuan thought the exact opposite. The Heavenly Rapier sect's sword cultivation method should be incorporated into his body refining pavilion to perfect the gold essence body refining art. Although he didn't have any secret technique to strengthen his meridians, Lu Kuan had some ideas on how to help a nascent soul stage cultivator like Yu Longfei strengthen his meridians. However, he needed to test it on a nascent soul stage cultivator's conjured body. Lu Kuan didn't want to destroy the Heavenly Rapier sect. It would be best if he could annex it. If he had this method, it would only be a matter of time before the Heavenly Rapier sect belonged to the body refining pavilion. If this method didn't work, then he would have to use force. Chapter 908. On the middle peak platform of the Heavenly Sword sect, the sword competition had entered its final stage. Everyone was gathered around the last sword battle arena. There were only 2 disciples left, and they would decide the 5th and 6th place. The difference between 5th and 6th place could be said to be like heaven and earth. 5th place meant a chance to comprehend sword intent, while 6th place only had some pills to stabilize the meridians as a reward. Of these 2 disciples, one was a young man wearing a black robe. Although the robe was loose, Many disciples could feel that this person's body was sturdy. The other was a petite woman. She had a dignified expression, and the sword in her hands flashed incessantly. She controlled 2 bronze longswords and waved them in the air, attacking 2 short swords that were 1 foot long. These 2 short swords were very strange. The sword body took up half of it, and it looked like the tip of an ordinary longsword. The other half was the hilt. Rather than calling it a hilt, it was more like a small wooden stick. A wooden stick and a sword tip, it looked neither fish nor fowl. The 2 strange short swords were very flexible. Under the young man's control, they constantly dodged the bronze longswords. The surrounding Heavenly Sword sect disciples could see that these short swords were only ordinary level 3 spiritual immortal treasures. Besides being flexible, there was nothing special about them. It seemed that as long as the bronze longswords hit the short swords a few times, they would be able to win. Mu Wanting didn't think so. She didn't know why, but she felt that this guy called Huang Xiaoyun was hiding his strength. During the battle, she would feel a trace of fear from time to time, as if he had the strength to kill her. Although this person wasn't proficient in the sword control technique and couldn't use the power of metal element spiritual power, like a disciple who had just learned the sword control technique, his spiritual power was very vigorous and could continue to be exhausted. In the previous battles, Huang Xiaoyun had relied on his vigorous spiritual power to forcefully exhaust his opponents and rush to this ranking. Humph. No matter what your goal is for hiding your strength, I, Mu Wanting, will take this Valley of Swords spot. She looked at the nonchalant Huang Xiaoyun and swallowed a lust pill. A powerful and sharp aura gushed out from her body. The 2 swords seemed to have achieved some kind of resonance and quickly fused together, turning into a golden longsword that breathed in and out golden sword chi. Although her spiritual will was average, she was well versed in the sword-nurturing techniques of her sect. The metal spirit dual swords had accompanied her for 100 years, and they had been refined from low-grade immortal treasures all the way to level 3 spiritual immortal treasures. She and her swords were the same, and she could fully utilize the power of a set of immortal treasures. Furthermore, the sword origin pill that he had just swallowed could increase the power of the sword manipulation technique by 30%. The strength of his attack had completely reached the peak of the foundation establishment stage. Huang Xiaoyun seemed to have felt the power of the golden longsword. With a wave of his hand, the 2 short swords were kept in his sleeves. Then, an extremely thick golden shield appeared around his body. He had directly taken defensive measures. Mu Wanting's eyes flashed with a trace of sharpness. Her small hand pinched a sword sign, and the golden longsword issued a cheerful sword cry, turning into a dazzling sword light that rushed forward. This person is really stupid. Doesn't he know that the essence of a sword cultivator is to attack? A powerful attack is the strongest defense. Blindly thinking about defense is already a failure. But at this moment, 4 extremely dazzling lights suddenly flashed on the battle arena, like silver lightning across the sky. Clang, the harsh sound of metal clashing reverberated. Mu Wanting felt 4 extremely terrible and sharp forces fiercely bombarding her metal spirit dual swords. At this moment, she could even hear a painful whine from the longsword. In the next moment, the metal spirit dual swords trembled and split into 2 bronze swords again. The aura dimmed and fell down. Almost at the same time, the sword shield outside her body also shattered. 4 strange short swords, 1 foot long, floated on her forehead, exuding a piercing sharpness. Mu Wanting's face was pale. How can there be such a fast sword control technique? The power of the short swords has almost doubled. The disciples of the Heavenly Sword sect surrounding the battle arena were also dumbfounded. Most of them only saw a few silver lights flash, and then Mu Wanting's sword shield shattered and the combined longsword scattered. The sword cultivators who made it into the top 10 had a solemn expression on their faces, especially the top 4. All of them were looking at Huang Xiaoyun with dread in their eyes. With their powerful spiritual sense, They were barely able to capture the scene just now. When Huang Xiaoyun released the golden shield, 4 short swords fell from his sleeve and were sandwiched between the 5 fingers of his right hand. Then, while his left hand pinched a sword sign, the 4 short swords were swung out by his arm. They felt that they might be seeing things. Why did the sword control technique need to be thrown out with the power of the arm? Was it some kind of sword art that required the arm to be waved? Yes, it must be like this. With the support of this powerful sword control technique, the 4 short swords were like lightning. They were almost twice as fast as the sword control technique and accurately hit the gold spirit sword. Not only was the speed so fast, but the power of the short sword seemed to have doubled. Not only did they break the gold spirit sword, but they also broke Mu Wanting's sword shield. The top 4 sword cultivators couldn't help but ponder. Facing these 4 short swords, could they take it? The one who presided over the battle arena was the white-haired old man. He was the top core formation sword cultivator in the sect, so he naturally knew of Huang Xiaoyun's origin. The white-haired old man was secretly amazed. The body refining pavilion was really not a small matter. The combination of physical strength and the sword control technique could erupt with such power. It was definitely not as simple as 1 + 1. In addition to physical strength, it seemed that the body refining pavilion's strongest point was their defense. When sword cultivators joined hands, they could exert the greatest attack. He couldn't help but look forward to the upcoming sect war. The thought flashed through his mind. The white-haired old man slowly said, "In this sword competition, Huang Xiaoyun is the winner. He is 5th in the sword competition. Mu Wanting is 6th. Huang Xiaoyun breathed a sigh of relief. He finally got the qualification to enter the Sword Valley. He patted the storage bag on his waist. In addition to the 4 short swords, there were many strange short weapons. There were triangular daggers, cross-shaped darts, and pentagonal blades. These unique weapons were the hidden weapons of the body refining pavilion's martial artists. The fingertips of each hand could hold 4 of them. With the terrifying physical strength of the body, the power was amazing. Many martial artists relied on the shurikens to secretly kill many cultivators. The true use of the shurikens was for sneak attacks and assassinations. It was a bit of a waste for him to use them in a sword competition. Thinking of this, Huang Xiaoyun was a bit nervous. The attack just now borrowed the sword control technique of the Heavenly Rapier sect, but it still relied on the physical strength of the body tempering stage. He didn't know if his master would punish him. Mu Wanting looked at the absent-minded Huang Xiaoyun and showed an unwilling expression. She gritted her teeth and said, "Huang Xiaoyun, what kind of sword control technique is this?" "Shurikens," Huang Xiaoyun said casually. He then cupped his hands to the white-haired old man and jumped off the battle arena. He walked towards the first 4 sword cultivators. Mu Wanting clenched the bronze sword in her hand and remembered the words, "shurikens," in her heart. Not only her, but the surrounding disciples of the Heavenly Rapier sect also knew of a terrifying sword control technique. Chapter 909. On the 3rd day after the sword competition, Huang Xiaoyun and the other 4 sword cultivators arrived in the sky above the Valley of Swords under the lead of the white-haired old man. The entrance was already open and everyone could faintly feel the sharpness. The white-haired old man said, "I will open the entrance again in 3 days. If you come out late, the sharpness will increase by more than 10 times. If it's light, your consciousness will be severely damaged. If it's heavy, your consciousness will be confused. Remember this." With a wave of his hand, the Heavenly Sword Gate's disciples rushed into the Valley of Swords on their flying swords. Huang Xiaoyun, on the other hand, controlled his flying artifact to follow behind them. The 4 sword cultivators from the Heavenly Rapier sect hurriedly flew to the ground as soon as they entered the Valley of Swords. They spread out their consciousness and felt the sharpness around them as if they were choosing a suitable spot. Only one of them was in the late stage of foundation establishment. The other three were in the great circle of foundation establishment. Their metal-type mana was very sharp, but they lacked an opportunity to form the mark of sword intent. This opportunity was the sharpness. The Valley of Swords was filled with rich metal-type spiritual energy. The spiritual energy contained sharpness. They could attract the metal-type spiritual energy and gather the sharpness around their bodies. They could feel the true meaning within and find the opportunity to form the mark of sword intent. This kind of understanding also had a great risk. If they accidentally absorbed the spiritual energy here into their bodies, the sharpness would severely damage their meridians. If they accidentally absorbed it into their dantian, it was very likely that their cultivation would be destroyed. In order to reduce the risk, they had to choose a suitable spot according to the sword marks on the ground and find the balance of the sharpness. As long as they found a suitable area, they could maintain a stable sharpness around their bodies. Through the fine control of the metal-type spiritual energy, they could find the opportunity. Huang Xiaoyun landed on the ground and looked curiously at the sword marks on the ground. These sword marks were messy and disorderly, as if they were casually created by a powerhouse. The sharpness of the entire Valley of Swords came from the sword marks. This attribute was even higher than sword intent. After so many years, it did not weaken at all. This showed how terrifying this powerhouse was. Huang Xiaoyun closed his eyes and felt the intense sharpness. The metal elemental mana in his body seemed to be somewhat active. He muttered, "The sharpness is indeed extraordinary. I seem to have a new understanding of the art of sword control." Then, he distanced himself from the other disciples and found a place where the sharpness was dense. The sword in his hand flashed as if he was using the most basic imperial sword technique of the Sky Rapier sect. The sword manipulation technique is a technique that can completely unleash the power of the metal element and the power of the sword. If one cultivates the sword manipulation technique to a certain level, one can even unleash sword chi through the use of sword-type artifacts. Although Huang Xiaoyun's spiritual roots were not high, he had the demonic gold body, and his control of metal attribute magic power was extremely precise. He was already proficient in the ordinary sword controlling technique, but he did not want to use it to control any swordsmanship magic tools. The cultivation of a body cultivator was to temper the body. If he used the sword intent core condensation method to enter the bone treasure stage, then his future cultivation would be to cultivate his bones into a sword Dao magic treasure. No, it should be said that he would refine all the long bones into sword bone. The target of the sword manipulation technique would be his own sword bones. After obtaining the sword intent core condensation method, Huang Xiaoyun specially studied the sword-type artifacts of the Sky Rapier sect. He discovered that the reason why the sword manipulation technique could be used on the sword and unleash the sharpness of metal attribute magic power was because of a special miniature array on the artifact. This miniature array perfectly connected metal attribute magic power and swordsmanship magic tools. If one was proficient in the sword manipulation technique, they could even use the artifact to unleash powerful sword chi. After discovering this, Huang Xiaoyun immediately had a bold idea. His master Lu Kuan, because of his hidden spiritual roots, engraved a spirit-controlling array on his bones when he reached the great circle of body tempering. However, Huang Xiaoyun had the demonic gold body, and his control of metal attribute magic power was extremely strong. The spirit-controlling array was completely superfluous. Why couldn't he engrave this unique sword manipulation array on his bones? The strength of his bones at the great circle of body tempering was not inferior to any magic tool. Therefore, Huang Xiaoyun went to consult Zhu Siming and Qin Yushu. With their help, he spent half a year to engrave the sword manipulation array on all the long bones in his body. When Zhu Siming was in the Yang clan, his ability to engrave miniature arrays was well known far and wide. Now that he had entered the middle core formation stage, he was even more proficient in this tool refining technique. He modified the sword manipulation array according to the size of each long bone and the direction of force exerted by the skeletal muscles, making it more suitable for the bones. Even Lu Kuan was far inferior to this level of tool refining technique. During the sword competition, Huang Xiaoyun's sword manipulation technique was very shoddy. This was because he had modified it in an attempt to find the trick to controlling the bone. Qi. Suddenly, a light sword qi shot out from Huang Xiaoyun's pinky finger. However, it dissipated after a distance of 3 meters. It seemed to be very weak. Huang Xiaoyun looked at the small bloody hole on the tip of his pinky finger. His face was full of surprise. Under the encirclement of the sharpness intent, Huang Xiaoyun gradually found the trick to the sword manipulation technique. He had just activated the magic power in his pinky finger. He condensed the sword manipulation array on the joints of his fingers into a line and shot out the sword qi. Because the magic power in his pinky finger was very weak, the sword qi's power was very weak. If it wasn't for the sharpness intent in the surroundings that strengthened the sword qi's sharpness, it probably wouldn't even have been able to cut through the flesh of his fingertip. After pondering for a while, Huang Xiaoyun raised his right arm. His entire arm emitted a vigorous wave of metal attribute magic power. His muscles intertwined and a large amount of blood vessels emerged. Boom! An extremely condensed sword qi shot out from his pinky finger and fiercely bombarded the ground in front of him. Created a small hole. The flesh of his pinky finger was completely destroyed, revealing the eerie white bone. Huang Xiaoyun revealed an excited expression. Master was right. When the bones are connected together, they are naturally embedded magic treasures. When the bones of my right arm combine, it is equivalent to a combined sword-type magic treasure. The power of this sword qi is even comparable to a level 3 spiritual immortal treasure. It's just that the magic power consumption is too great. Then, the qi and blood in his body surged. The missing flesh on his pinky finger quickly recovered. The metal attribute magic power in his body surged again. Streaks of sword qi of various sizes shot out from his fingertips and flew in all directions. The 4 sword cultivators of the Heavenly Rapier sect were all focused on comprehending the sword will. No one paid attention to this. If they saw this scene, they would probably think that Huang Xiaoyun had comprehended the sword will. The Heavenly Rapier sect's sword qi theurgy could only be used by Foundation establishment disciples with their sword. As for creating sword qi out of thin air, other than core formation sword cultivators, only Foundation establishment sword cultivators who had comprehended the sword will could do so. After about a quarter of an hour, Huang Xiaoyun wiped the sweat from his forehead. His face was still filled with excitement. The magic power in his body was twice that of a Great Circle Foundation establishment cultivator. In this short period of time, he had completely comprehended the essence of the art of sword control. He could control the bones in his body. If not for the special environment here, Huang Xiaoyun even wanted to experience the pleasure of flying in the air. Next is to comprehend the sword will and condense the sword mark. Huang Xiaoyun had already thought of a method. In an environment filled with sharpness, the Heavenly Rapier sect disciples' chances of comprehending the sword will were still so low. This was because this energy was too sharp and could easily damage their weak meridians and dantian. Even the green essence sword wine made by a nascent soul cultivator couldn't damage my body. This is just metal attribute spirit qi that contains sharpness. I'll use it to cleanse my body. I don't believe that I can't find the opportunity to condense the sword mark. P.S. Cough cough, last week's 10 chapters mission is only now completed. Continue this week. First, set a small goal. For example, 1 second. Remember, book guest residence. Chapter 9-10. The Ancestor of Body Cultivators. Awkward. Please wait for a moment. After the content has been updated, please refresh the page to get the latest update. Chapter 9-11. On the Heavenly Sword Peak, Lu Kuan and Yu Longfei sat in the pavilion and talked to each other. Generally speaking, when nascent soul cultivators gathered together, they would exchange their cultivation experiences and verify with each other. They would often solve some doubts in the cultivation process. If they were lucky, it would even be equivalent to decades of hard work. However, Lu Kuan's body refinement technique was a self-contained system that was completely out of the scope of ordinary cultivators. He and Yu Longfei had almost no common language in cultivation. Therefore, he and the Heavenly Sword Sect's Great Elder talked about some secrets that only nascent soul cultivators in Wei country knew. Yu Longfei said, "The Shangqing sect is a branch of the Xian sect of the state of Zhou. Thousands of years ago, many nascent soul cultivators emerged from the sect and quickly unified Zhongzhou. It has something to do with the Xian sect." Lu Kuan revealed a look of realization and said, "In that case, the nascent soul and core formation cultivators of the Shangqing sect all disappeared and returned to the Xian sect?" Yu Longfei nodded and said, "Yes, since the Shangqing sect's strength expanded, the Xian sect let them return to the main sect. However, the Shangqing sect was very powerful in Wei country and had abundant resources. They were comfortable being the local tyrant and were unwilling to leave. Until the war in Wei country many years ago, the Shangqing sect was forced to return to the main sect under the pressure of our sects and old demon Pang of the blood refining sect." Yu Longfei sighed and said, "With the addition of the Shangqing sect, the Xian sect had a total of 3 great cultivators and nearly 30 nascent soul cultivators. Its strength increased greatly, and it rose from the 5th sect of the state of Zhou to the 4th. Although the high-level cultivators of the Shangqing sect were strictly restricted by the sect, they also obtained many top-secret techniques of the Xian sect. It could be said that they had both good and bad luck." After hearing these words, Lu Kuan was shocked and said, "The Xian sect has so many nascent soul cultivators and is only ranked 4th. The cultivation sect of the state of Zhou is actually so powerful." Yu Longfei sighed and said, "The great Zhou state is located to the north of the Heavenly River in the state of Qi. It is extremely vast. The state of Chu, the state of Qi, and the state of Wei added together is not even 20 to 30% of its territory. There are many cultivation sects in the Great Zhou country, and the top 10 sects can be traced back to ancient times. It can be said that the top 3 sects of the Great Zhou country all have spirit-severing cultivators, and their strength is incomparably terrifying." Lu Kuan was speechless. He had searched Ba Yongkai's soul and knew that the Great Zhou dynasty was vast and rich in resources. However, he didn't expect the strength of the immortal cultivation sects there to be so terrifying. There were even several soul formation stage cultivators. It could be seen that he had only come into contact with a very small part of the cultivation world. He asked curiously, "Brother Yu, if the Great Zhou dynasty is already so powerful, then to the north of the Great Zhou dynasty, is there an even more powerful country of cultivators?" Yu Longfei said, "To the north of the Great Zhou dynasty is an area filled with cracks in space. It is called the Shattered Kingdom. I heard that to the north of the Shattered Kingdom, there is an even more vast land of extreme cold." Lu Kuan asked, "The Shattered Kingdom, what is that?" Yu Longfei slowly said, "I have traveled to the Great Zhou dynasty before. It is said that it was the battlefield of the ancient cultivators and the demon race. After repelling the demon race, the Yuan school led the other sects to use heavenly methods to completely seal the cracks in space. After that, a large number of cracks in space appeared in that area." Lu Kuan's expression changed and said, "According to Lu's knowledge, the Yuan school was the main force in the battle against the demon race. It was almost the strongest cultivation sect at that time. They seemed to have disappeared along with it. Yulong Fei sighed and said, "It is said that the Yuan country where the Yuan school was located was also affected by the cracks in space when the demon race sealed the space. The entire Yuan country and the ancient battlefield became a shattered kingdom." Lu Kuan's expression changed and he recalled Hong Yuntian's note. According to the notes, when the Hong brothers created their own body refining techniques, they defeated the demon race and sealed the cracks in space. At that time, the Yuan school had not yet disappeared. In addition to arranging for the disciples to study the corpses of the demon race and trying to create body refining techniques, the elders of the school seemed to be busy with an important matter. The disappearance of the Yuan school certainly had nothing to do with the sealing of the demon race. Lu Kuan had a faint premonition that this shattered kingdom contained the secret of the Yuan school's disappearance. He asked again, "The shattered kingdom is not only an ancient battlefield, but also the Yuan school's encampment. Even if it is very dangerous, there should be nascent soul stage cultivators taking the risk." Yulong Fei said, "The edge of the shattered kingdom is full of huge cracks in space. Even spirit-severing stage seniors would find it difficult to enter, let alone nascent soul stage cultivators. However, every 500 years, the cracks in the shattered kingdom will shrink for 5 years. Cultivators can take advantage of this opportunity to enter. Although there aren't any large spatial cracks, there are countless invisible spatial cracks in the broken country. Only the spiritual sense of a nascent soul cultivator can detect them. If a core-bearing cultivator doesn't have a powerful detection ability, it's almost certain death." Yulong Fei's eyes revealed a bit of regret. 300 years ago, the shattered kingdom opened. I had just entered the nascent soul stage, and my sect's previous head elder was near the end of his life. He did not dare to take the risk. If I were to unfortunately die, the Heavenly Sword sect would not have a nascent soul stage sword cultivator. The sect would not be far from being destroyed. Lu Kuan was now also the head of a sect. He somewhat sympathized with Yulong Fei and said, "Brother Yu, this is a wise decision." Yulong Fei sighed. "Wei's nascent soul stage cultivators all think this way, except for Shi Jingtian." "Old Devil Shi?" Yulong Fei said, 300 years ago, Old Devil Shi was still at the peak of the nascent soul stage. He actually dared to bring a few core-bearing stage cultivators into the shattered kingdom. Shi Jingtian and the others may have obtained a treasure that is very helpful in forming the nascent soul. If not for the exposure of the Yang clan's battle, the rest of the sects would not even know that Fairy Feng and Zhang Lungfeng had entered the nascent soul stage. Including Yu Lianxing and Shi Jingtian, there are a total of 4 nascent soul stage cultivators. When Lu Kuan heard these names, his eyes turned cold. So the miraculous gate has such opportunities. "Brother Yu, I will go to the Qi kingdom soon and think of a way." At this moment, Lu Kuan and Yulong Fei turned their heads at the same time and looked in the direction of the Valley of Swords. There, the metal element's spiritual energy surged violently and an extremely sharp aura of mana surged out from the Valley of Swords. Yulong Fei nodded his head lightly and revealed a satisfied expression. "This batch of disciples is not bad. Someone has already comprehended the sword will on the second day." Lu Kuan frowned slightly and seemed a little unhappy. Yulong Fei smiled. "Master Lu, do not mind. Your disciple did not cultivate the Heavenly Rapier sect's foundation establishment technique. Even if he has a special spiritual body, it will be difficult." Halfway through his words, another aura of the sword will emerged from the Valley of Swords. Yulong Fei's eyes shone with surprise. There are actually 2 of them. This batch of disciples is indeed stronger than the previous batch. Just as he finished speaking, the 3rd aura of the sword will shot into the sky. Yulong Fei stood up excitedly. 3 disciples comprehended the sword will. This not only meant that they could enter the core-bearing stage, it also meant that the 3 of them would have a higher chance of forming the nascent soul. He, Dugu Feng, and even the previous nascent soul stage cultivators of the Heavenly Rapier sect were all in the late foundation establishment stage. They comprehended the sword will through the Valley of Swords. Boom! The spiritual energy outside the Valley of Swords surged violently and the fourth aura of the sword will burst out. What? Yu Longfei's body began to tremble. His eyes were filled with ecstasy. The four of them have all comprehended the sword will. Is this the sign of the rise of my Heavenly Rapier sect? Just as he was extremely excited, the fifth aura of the sword will came out from the Valley of Swords. Yu Longfei's face stiffened as he suddenly felt that something was wrong. How did this brat from the body refining pavilion comprehend the sword will? Did something happen in the Valley of Swords? The thought flashed through his mind. The sharp intent in the Valley of Swords fluctuated again, and the sixth aura of the sword will shot into the sky. Yu Longfei revealed a look of disbelief as he cried out, "How is this possible? There are only 5 people. How can there be 6 auras of the sword will?" Chapter 9:12. Huang Xiaoyun sat cross-legged in a corner of the Valley of Swords. His entire body was filled with an incomparably sharp aura. An astonishing sword intent was emitted from 6 positions on his body. The 4 Heavenly Rapier sect disciples in the distance were stunned. They looked in the direction of Huang Xiaoyun in a daze. The area where Huang Xiaoyun was filled with an extremely sharp aura. If they were to comprehend the sword intent there, their meridians would be damaged and their cultivation would be crippled. Who knew that Huang Xiaoyun, who appeared out of nowhere, would not only condense 1 sword intent imprint, but he also condensed 6 sword intent imprints one after another. This was simply unheard of. Could it be that this person had 6 stanchions? In addition to the strong sword intent, they could also feel the other party's dense spiritual power. It was far beyond the great circle of foundation establishment. If Huang Xiaoyun was a core formation stage sword cultivator, they would believe it. Just as the 4 disciples stood up and headed to Huang Xiaoyun's position, the restriction above the Valley of Swords suddenly opened. 2 blurry figures appeared at the entrance. They seemed to be talking about something. After a while, one of the figures landed in the Valley of Swords like lightning. He brought Huang Xiaoyun out and left the Valley of Swords. Then, an angry voice sounded in the ears of the 4 sword cultivator disciples, "Comprehend well. If no one can condense sword intent by the 3rd day, you don't have to come out." Feeling this unfathomable divine sense, the disciples trembled and hurriedly returned to their positions. They calmed their minds and continued to comprehend the sharp aura around them. Huang Xiaoyun maintained his cross-legged position. He was wrapped in an invisible force field and stuck close to Lu Kuan's back. This pair of master and disciple were already far away from the Heavenly Rapier sect. Huang Xiaoyun was sweating profusely. His body was filled with a violent sharp aura. His entire body was trembling. It was as if there were countless small snakes swimming under his skin. Previously in the Valley of Swords, he crazily absorbed the sharp aura and combined it with his comprehension of the sword-controlling technique. After spending 2 days, he finally found the opportunity to condense sword intent. Huang Xiaoyun used the metal attribute imprint as a foundation to condense 6 sword intent imprints on his upper arm, thigh, sternum, and spine. But who would have thought that as soon as the sword intent was successfully condensed, his metal elemental physical dermic powers received a certain sublimation, and his aura changed drastically. His muscles, bones, and internal organs had all become incomparably sharp, crazily attacking his physical body. If he had not completed the internal organ condensation technique and strengthened his internal organs would have been severely damaged. Huang Xiaoyun quickly transferred his internal organs' dermic powers to his muscles and bones. The incomparably dense dermic powers of the sword filled his bones and muscles. His bones were fine, but the pressure on his muscles was greatly increased. With a chi sound, the skin on his forearm suddenly cracked open, and a sword chi shot out from the broken flesh, melting into the surrounding origin energy field. As if a gate had been opened, Huang Xiaoyun's skin ruptured one after another, exploding with several bloody holes. Sharp sword chi rushed out. Huang Xiaoyun's face paled. He gritted his teeth and said, "Master, my current physical body is unable to withstand such sharp dermic powers. I must immediately break through and condense my core and melt my bones." Lu Kuan nodded with a serious expression. His enormous divine sense probed the surroundings. His figure flashed, and he brought Huang Xiaoyun to a remote mountain range. Lu Kuan clenched his fist, and an enormous void force blasted forward, creating a cave that was 10 feet long. Hundreds of mid-grade spirit stones were tossed out, and a simple spirit gathering formation was set up. Then, he threw Huang Xiaoyun in. With Lu Kuan personally protecting him, Huang Xiaoyun immersed his entire mind into his body. His blood flowed faster, revealing his powerful blood qi. The extremely violent and sharp dermic powers, under the mediation of the blood, condensed towards the 6 sword intent imprints on the bones. The pressure on the muscles was greatly reduced, and the flesh stopped cracking. Under the nourishment of the blood, the wounds began to heal. Lu Kuan stood not far away. Feeling the extremely sharp dermic powers, he was amazed. One must know that when Lu Kuan condensed the 6th Thunder Seal, his complete body-tempering body could completely withstand it. Now that Huang Xiaoyun had condensed the 6 sword intent imprints, his body was on the verge of breaking. It could be seen that the dermic powers of the sword intent were even stronger than the thunder attribute dermic powers. This kid is decisive enough. In his current physical body, only the bones can withstand the dermic powers of the sword intent. If he doesn't condense his core and melt his bones to break through to the bone treasure stage, his flesh and blood will completely explode. Lu Kuan's eyes flashed with a golden light as he observed the situation in Huang Xiaoyun's body. With the 6 sword intent imprints, the dermic powers of the physical body, under the coagulation of the blood, smoothly entered the imprints on the bones. At the same time, the blood faintly emitted a pale white halo. Every 5 portions of dermic powers passed through the blood and the sword intent imprints, fusing into dermic powers in the bones. The whole process seemed to be very smooth, without the slightest feeling of stagnation. It was as if the dermic powers had automatically crystallized. Lu Kuan let out a sigh of relief. The pale white halo in the blood was very likely related to Huang Xiaoyun's demonic gold body. The combination of the constitution and the sword intent greatly increased the chances of condensing his core and melting his bone. Next, he sat cross-legged at the entrance of the cave, personally guarding Huang Xiaoyun. He had sent Serene back to the temporary camp a few days ago. With the addition of the black tortoise from the spirit transformation sect, he shouldn't have to worry about the body refining pavilion. Lu Kuan pondered as he felt Huang Xiaoyun's aura. Body tempering Great Circle is unable to withstand the 6 sword intent imprints. However, if there are only 1 or 2 sword intent imprints, body tempering and blood condensation body cultivators should be able to withstand it. If a disciple who cultivates the essence gold body refining art comprehends sword intent in the bone tempering stage, with the help of the dermic powers of the sword intent, not only will their battle prowess explosively increase, but their body refining speed will also increase. The ancient sword cultivators mentioned by Yu Longfei comprehended sword intent in the early foundation establishment stage through the sword nurturing art. Their attack power in the late foundation establishment stage is incomparably terrifying. They can even kill core formation stage cultivators. If a body refining pavilion disciple condenses a sword intent imprint in the bone tempering stage, then in the viscera forging stage, they can rely on 4 or more sword intent imprints to achieve this. Thinking of this, Lu Kuan frowned. Regardless of whether he forcefully subdued the heavenly sword sect in the future or not, he must obtain the sword nurturing art. He had communicated with Yu Longfei before and knew that the sword nurturing art was extremely unique. It used a special method to nurture a magic tool, and at the same time, the sharpness of the magic tool could be used to supplement the body and strengthen one's dermic powers. If he could obtain this sword nurturing art and integrate it into the body refining art, then a body cultivator in the bone tempering stage would be able to nurture their body as a sword. Their chances of comprehending sword intent would definitely be higher than any ancient sword cultivator. From the bone tempering stage to laying the foundation, one could gradually develop one's body into a powerful sword treasure, or rather a sword body. This could be said to be a new body refining art. Sword body refining art. Lu Kuan looked at Huang Xiaoyun, who was trying his best to break through. His eyes were full of anticipation. The bone treasure stage is the bone tempering stage. Unlike me, this kid doesn't need to inscribe any hardening arrays in the future. What he really needs is a sharpness array to fully display the powerful attack power of the sword body. Lu Kuan knew in his heart that his strength was astonishing, and he also had the arm connection technique. Only by inscribing a hardening array would his bones be able to withstand his terrifying physical strength. At the same time, another function of the hardening array was to resist the powerful destructive force. Lu Kuan relied on the talent of a 9-star physique to cultivate the blood demon force of the core formation middle stage in the bone treasure stage. Thanks to the hardening array, he could successfully cultivate the blood demon bone refining art and accelerate the tempering of the bone treasure. Huang Xiaoyun was different from him. His physical strength was much weaker. A 5-star physique could only cultivate the blood demon force of the core formation early stage. The hardening array's effect was extremely low. It was better to inscribe a sharpness array and display the power of the sword treasure to the extreme. Chapter 9:13. On the left side of the Valley of the Body Refining Pavilion, there was a cave where the earth fire was placed. At this moment, intermittent hammering sounds could be heard. There were 2 mortal martial artists in the earth fire cave. They were both draped in fiery red cloaks. One of them was a bald man with a bare upper body. His muscles were bulging and he was currently brandishing a sledgehammer, hammering something. The other man was short, but he was bulging with bulging muscles. His body was about the same height as his height. He looked like a bulky meatball. He stood in the distance and looked at the bald man nervously. In front of them, a huge furnace sat in the middle of the cave. It was emitting a shocking amount of heat. The shape of the furnace was very strange. The middle of the furnace was like a teapot. There were 8 long mouths, each of which was different. The smallest was as small as a finger, and the largest was as big as a watermelon. At the top of the furnace there was a thick silver chain. It went around a gear and was tied to the bottom of a turntable by the wall. Other than the furnace, there was a 3-foot-wide gray rock beside it. One of the mouths of the furnace was shooting hot flames at the rock. Below the flames were 3 semicircular grooves. 2 of the grooves were filled with red and white liquid. The air above the liquids was distorted. Obviously, they were in a state of high temperature. As for the last groove, there was a fist-sized black rock in it. The bald man was swinging his sledgehammer and hammering the rock rhythmically. As time passed, the black rock gradually turned into liquid under the heavy hammering and burning of the flames. Seeing this, the middle-aged man put down his sledgehammer and touched a mechanism at the edge of the gray rock. A gap appeared at the edge of the 3 circular grooves. The 3 liquids flowed into an oval groove in the middle. This oval groove looked very delicate. It was filled with all kinds of patterns. The bald man's bell-like voice rang out, "Brother Guo, turn the furnace. Fire mouth number 5. Okay." The short man stood beside the turntable and immediately pulled the handle. With a heavy creaking sound, The fire mouth in the middle of the furnace stopped shooting out flames and then began to turn. Crack. The fire mouth was bigger than the previous one. It aimed at the gray rock and spewed out even hotter flames. The bald man said in a deep voice, "Brother Gua, use the secret technique of the soul-sensing art to help me." The short man walked behind the bald man with a serious look on his face. His spiritual sense, which was at the middle stage of the chi refining stage, came out of his body and emitted a unique wave of energy. It intertwined with the bald man's spiritual sense. After the two middle chi refining stage divine senses merged, they actually reached the late chi refining stage. A few streaks of blood appeared in the bald man's eyes. He controlled his surging divine sense to surge towards the mixed liquid in the gray rock. At the same time, he flicked out a pile of pale white powder between his fingers. Then, he raised the iron hammer and knocked on it as if it was light. Gradually, a series of mysterious miniature magic formations were formed one after another. "Separate your divine sense and close the furnace," the middle-aged man commanded. The short man's muscles and nerves trembled for a moment. He withdrew his spirit sense and rushed to the turntable, turning off the flames of the furnace. The bald man quickly took out a talisman. The iron bracelet on his wrist glowed and activated the talisman. A cold mist rushed towards the gray rock, making a sizzling sound. After a while, the mist dissipated. An oval object appeared in the gray rock, emitting a spiritual luster. The short man walked over excitedly. He took off his cloak and carefully placed the object in the center of his inner armor, right where his sternum was. He showed a grateful look and said, "Brother Li's refining skills are worthy of their reputation. I'm afraid you're even comparable to the cultivators of the treasure pavilion." The middle-aged man laughed and said, "It's all thanks to the two refining treasures of the treasure pavilion. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to refine a spirit-controlling magical instrument with my ordinary forging skills." The short man looked at his chest. His eyes were shining with a fiery light. "Brother Li, I won't say any more. I'm going back to cultivate." After that, he walked out in a hurry. The middle-aged man was used to this scene. He touched his chest and walked to a place near the furnace and sat down cross-legged. His name was Li Kuei. He was famous in the Western Desert's secular martial arts world. His self-created chaotic wind hammer technique, combined with his innate divine strength, gave him an amazing fighting strength. Even among the martial saints of the body refining pavilion, he was one of the strongest. In addition, Li Kuei could refine a spirit-controlling magical instrument with the help of this refining furnace and the dragon-breaking stone. Other than him, there were only 4 mortal martial artists who could barely refine a spirit-controlling magical instrument. Later, by chance, Li Kuei found that cultivating near the earth fire furnace had great effects on his sternum. However, other martial artists didn't have such a feeling. It seemed that his body was very special. After all, Li Kuei was born with divine strength and his strength was 20% higher than other martial saints. The immortal cultivators of the treasure pavilion were very busy. They had a lot of refining tasks and were short on earth fire stones. They couldn't let a mortal martial artist use them alone. Therefore, Li Kuei thought of a way. He found the immortal cultivators of the treasure pavilion and asked them to take all the tasks of refining sternum spirit-controlling magical instrument. After testing Li Kuei's refining skills, the higher-ups of the body refining pavilion decided to give Li Kuei an earth fire room to refine. Just like that, he helped the martial artists refine spirit-controlling magical instruments while cultivating near the earth fire. After 10 years, his sternum had become the toughest part of his body. However, according to Li Kuei's judgment, there was still a long way to go before his sternum could be used as a spirit-controlling magical instrument material. As this thought flashed through his mind, Li Kuei stuffed a spirit stone into his inner armor and focused on cultivating. However, not long after, He opened his eyes again. What's going on? The fire attribute spirit chi is so active today. There seems to be a terrifying flame power in the air. Then, Li Kuei's face turned red and he spat out a mouthful of blood. He looked frightened and quickly left the earth fire cave. When he came out of the cave, he suddenly found that there was a huge underground cave right below the earth fire cave. One by one, disciples of the body refining pavilion flew out, bringing with them waves of heat. So there is a cave underground. The disciples with spirit roots are cultivating under the earth fire stones. Li Kuei jumped to the ground and stood behind the disciples. He found that these disciples with spirit roots had some burn marks on their bodies. The air was filled with the smell of barbecued meat. These disciples cultivate magic power and have strong bodies. With the heat of the earth fire stones, their bodies can't be burned like this. Could there be a stronger flame source than the earth fire? Just as Li Kuei was puzzled, the spirit chi in the valley suddenly fluctuated violently. Everyone raised their heads. No one knew when, but in this valley with a large spirit gathering array, rich fire attribute spirit chi gathered and turned into a shocking spirit chi vortex. It rushed into the underground cave that everyone had escaped from. This underground cave was actually divided into 2 levels. The disciples of the body refining pavilion tempered their bodies on the upper level. The lower level was a secret room about 30 meters in size. Inside, 2 figures sat cross-legged. Yu Xian and Sherchao. Yu Xian was naked. The muscles on his face twitched as if he was enduring great pain. The surface of his charred skin emitted dark red flames from time to time. Sherchao was behind Yu Xian. Her hands emitted a cold aura and pressed against Yu Xian's back. With the injection of rich spirit chi, Yu Xian seemed to be suppressing the terrifying flames in his body. The dark red flames on the surface of his body gradually disappeared. The terrifying heat in the secret room also seemed to be under some kind of control and was absorbed into his body. Yu Xian slowly opened his eyes. In the depths of his pupils, a flame was reflected. His gaze was faintly emitting flames. A vigorous wave of mana shot up into the sky. The unique pressure of a completion stage cultivator spread out in all directions. Yu Xian stood up. Feeling the bone mana in his body that had merged with the strange fire, his body trembled slightly. He muttered, 10 years, a whole 10 years. I finally entered the bone treasure stage. Then he turned around and looked at Sherchao. His eyes were burning. Senior, if you didn't suppress the strange fire at the last moment, I'm afraid my flesh and blood would have been burned before I could refine the fire of the 3 suns. Sherchao stared blankly at her slightly charred hands. She didn't seem to hear Yu Xian's words. Senior, what happened to you? Zhao Shuer took in a deep breath and said with a shocked expression, Junior apprentice brother, just now, the mystical fire mana in your body entered the bones of my hand and clashed with my ice mana, creating a terrifying destructive force. She muttered. This energy is even stronger than the destructive force of the blood demon bone refining technique. Chapter 9:14. The Ancestor of Body Cultivators is working overtime. Please wait a moment. After the content is updated, please refresh the page to get the latest update. Chapter 9:15. Time flew by, and the 3 great devil sects of the state of Qi had already been at war for 3 years. The 7 Fiends sect had allied with the 5 sects and 3 clans of the Western Prefecture, while the Yinyang sect had allied with the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. They had split into 2 groups and were attacking the Southern Prefecture where the Blood Refining sect was located. At this time, the Blood Refining sect completely displayed the strength of the state of Qi's number 1 demonic sect. The large demonic spirit veins in the southern region were covered with a large number of restrictions. In addition to the nascent soul cultivators of the Blood Refining sect, the advance of the 2 demonic sects was extremely slow. On this day, in the northern province of the Kingdom of Qi, a faintly discernible streak of light was flying high up in the sky. Inside the streak of light was an ordinary-looking middle-aged man. He exuded an extremely ferocious demonic aura. He was one of the 7 fiend true demon lords, Fiend Soul True Lord. At this moment, his face was gloomy and his eyes flickered. Damn it! How did Su Junwen know that the real Soul Fiend True Lord is dead? I, Soul Fiend, have only interacted with this Yin and Yang fella in the Yuan secret realm. How did she find out? This true Lord Soul Fiend Soul was once the leader of the 7 fiends, Soul Fiend. He and the other members of the 7 fiends had other fortuitous encounters in the Yuan secret realm. Other than obtaining a large number of devil stones from the Devil Refinement Cave, they had also found 2 new devil pools and collected a great amount of pure true devil water. In order to prevent themselves from being devoured by the 7 fiend true devil monarch, the 7 fiends cultivated a secret technique called the soul condensing art that was taught to them by Han Sha. This kind of secret technique could temporarily connect their souls into one. Each of them had the strength of 7 people. In the process of fighting for the origin Qi, they might be able to suppress those old fellows. The 7 fiend true devil art was a top cultivation method that the 7 of them cultivated together. With the help of a sufficient amount of pure true devil water, coupled with their top-notch aptitudes, the 7 fiends had actually entered the early nascent soul stage. Later on, they competed with 7 fiends true demon lord for the quintessence fiendish Qi in the forbidden grounds of 7 fiends sect. When Han Sha recalled the scene back then, his eyes revealed a trace of gloominess. The soul condensing art that he had obtained by chance did indeed condense the soul consciousness of the 7 people into one. However, the others did not know that the soul condensing art had a main body. As long as the main body used the secret art at a critical moment, all the soul consciousness would immediately be added to the main body. The other people's souls would be greatly damaged. Soul Fiend had cast a mystic art at the critical moment when he was fighting for the quintessence baneful aura. He instantly absorbed the charisma of the other 6 people and secretly devoured the real Soul Fiend True Lord. As for the other 6, due to the damage to their souls, they were devoured by the other true demon lords without any resistance. The 7 fiends true demon lords all entered the mid-nascent soul stage. Master Han Sha obtained the memories of Soul Fiend True Monarch and acted the same as before. As for the other 6 fiend true monarchs, they devoured the 6 fiend true monarchs whose souls were missing. They couldn't obtain the memories, so he hid them very well. However, who would have expected that Han Sha would encounter Su Junwen, who had also entered the nascent soul realm, when he made a move not long ago. It was at that time that Su Junwen secretly sent him a voice transmission, calling out his identity in an instant, and even asked to meet him. He didn't know what he was up to. Although Han Sha had become true Lord Han Sha and entered the mid-stage nascent soul realm, Su Junwen had cultivated the power of a nascent soul at the core formation realm. After condensing a nascent soul, his strength was not to be underestimated. Let's see why this effeminate fellow wants to meet me. If there's really no other way, I'll use the divine power I just comprehended and kill him. My secret must not be known by others, especially the Grand Elder. Otherwise, Han Sha made up his mind. The streak of light sped up and shot towards the eastern state. Between the eastern state and the northern state of the state of Qi, there was a long river that meandered for thousands of kilometers. On both sides of the river were desert rocks without any vegetation. The river water was extremely turbid, filled with demonic Qi and spiritual Qi, as well as the aura of cold Yin energy. Only a few special species of fish could survive in such a chaotic river water. Due to the cold Yin energy mixed in, almost no cultivators cultivated nearby. This eerie river was called the Dead Spirit River by the state of Qi's cultivators. On this day, on a rocky desert beside the Dead Spirit River, stood a beautiful woman with a voluptuous figure. She wore a purple-black dress and was stroking a jade slip with her jade-like fingers. She seemed to be deep in thought. The Yuan sect is indeed worthy of being called the #1 sect in the ancient times. This primitive illusory devil-mother-child technique is extremely profound and conceals many changes. The yin-yang illusory devil technique that I cultivate seems to have been born from this ancient technique. Su Junwen's divine sense sensed the ball of extreme yang energy in the depths of extreme yin's nascent soul. His eyes flashed with a trace of fanaticism. Through the reversal of yin and yang, I hid the extreme yang energy cultivated during the core formation realm and took the risk to condense a nascent soul with the extreme yin energy. This way, I can use the extreme yang energy as the source of my child body and cultivate the newly created yin-yang mother-child technique. The blood refinement sex illusory devil mother-child technique is focused on breaking through bottlenecks and illusions. It can only be considered as an auxiliary cultivation technique. On the other hand, the yin-yang mother-child technique I created is a cultivation technique that cultivates two nascent souls and possesses terrifying and formidable divine abilities. Even if it's the top divine ability of the Darjo sect, the second nascent soul, it's only a clone at the nascent soul realm, and I still have to worry about backlash. But my yin-yang twin nascent souls are different. They were cultivated by me and won't suffer from backlash at all. Moreover, their devil energy reserves are 2 times that of cultivators of the same realm, and it's even more terrifying than the blood devil technique. Moreover, the combination of the extreme yin energy and extreme yang energy can transform into numerous divine abilities. Suddenly, Su Junwen's brows raised, and he put away the jade slip before looking towards the direction of the Dead Spirit River. A strand of obscure devilish light shot violently towards him. In next to no time, the strand of light descended onto the rocky desert and revealed a middle-aged man with an ordinary appearance. It was precisely Hun Sha. Hun Sha scanned Su Junwen from head to toe and said with a strange expression, "Fairy Su, please speak frankly if you have something to say. Although our 2 sects have joined forces to fight the enemy, we're still in a competitive relationship." Su Junwen smiled and said, "Fellow Hun Sha, we even joined forces to fight the enemy in the Yuan secret realm. Don't tell me you don't recognize me?" Hun Sha snorted coldly and said, "Those 7 disappointing fellows died from the baleful qi that invaded their bodies many years ago. Fairy Su, there's no need to pull any strings. If it has nothing to do with the war, please return." Su Junwen covered her mouth and chuckled. Her voluptuous body trembled slightly, and she exuded a shocking charm. "Fellow Hun Sha, there's only the 2 of us here. You don't have to imitate true Lord Hun Sha." Hun Sha's pupils shrank. An incomparably dense nascent soul stage power surged out. The enormous pressure of a mid-nascent soul stage spread out. His divine sense locked onto Su Junwen. Su Junwen's expression did not change. A layer of demonic power enveloped his body. Although he only had the aura of an early nascent soul stage demonic power, there seemed to be an extremely powerful energy hidden deep within the demonic power. It resisted Hun Sha's pressure for a moment. Su Junwen took a step back without batting an eyelid. The corners of her mouth curled up slightly as she said, "Fellow Hun Sha, there's no need to be agitated. I, Su Junwen, am a yin and yang soul. I have a unique secret technique to distinguish a person's soul. It seems like the other 7 fiend true devil lords are still those old fellows. They and the other nascent soul stage cultivators of the 7 fiends sect probably don't know about your situation." Hun Sha narrowed his eyes. A shocking demonic power was brewing in his body. It was as if he had silently agreed. He said slowly, "Fairy Su, are you threatening me? Do you think I don't have the strength to destroy you?" Su Junwen said, Since the 7 fiend true devil lords have entered the mid-nascent soul stage, they will soon proceed to the final step. The 7 fiend fusion will attempt to produce a new late-nascent soul stage demonic cultivator. Hun Sha's pupils shrank. How do you know the secret of my 7 fiends sect? Su Junwen did not answer. Instead, she said mysteriously, since the 7 fiend true devil technique's secret technique can fuse the 7 fiend fusion, could your Grand Elder have a secret technique that can devour all of you in an attempt to break through his current realm? Hun Sha's expression changed abruptly. Chapter 9:16. Su Junwen observed Hun Sha's expression and said meaningfully, "Fellow Taoist Hun Sha, you were able to plot and devour the previous perfected Lord Hun Sha to enter the midstage nascent soul realm. Naturally, you're far-sighted. I don't believe that you haven't thought of that." Hun Sha's expression quickly recovered. He said in a deep voice, "I've long heard that the Yin-Yang sect is well informed. I never expected Fairy Su to know so many of our sect's secret. However, if Fairy Su wants to use this opportunity to sow discord between us and the Grand Elder, then you've made a mistake." He paused for a moment before continuing. "If Grand Elder wants to use this method to break through, our 7 fiend true demon lord can also devour Grand Elder. However, Grand Elder has a higher chance of success due to his higher cultivation." A strange light flashed in the depths of his eyes as he said, "This is an opportunity for the Great Elder, but it is also an opportunity for the 7 of us. Leaping from the mid-nascent soul stage to the spirit-severing stage, even if there is only a slight chance, we must give it a try." Su Junwen was slightly stunned. Then, he covered his mouth and laughed. According to this logic, fellow Taoist Soul Baleful should have devoured the previous Soul Baleful True Lord. However, from the looks of it, fellow Taoist, you seem to have been hiding it. A trace of coldness flashed across Hun Sha's eyes as he said in a low voice, "Could it be that Fairy Su called me over just to threaten me?" Su Junwen chuckled and said, "Fellow Taoist Hun Sha, please don't misunderstand. Actually, I asked you out this time because I want to make a deal." Hun Sha narrowed his eyes and said, "What deal?" Su Junwen's expression turned serious as he said, "I wonder if fellow Taoist Hun Sha is interested in the soul of a nascent soul." When Hun Sha heard about the nascent soul, he revealed a pleasantly surprised expression and said, "What? Does Fairy Su have a complete nascent soul?" His innate cultivation method was closely related to his soul. To him, the soul of a nascent soul was several times better than any medicinal pill that could increase his cultivation base. However, obtaining the soul of a nascent soul was even more difficult than capturing one alive. Once a cultivator enters the nascent soul stage, his soul and the nascent soul will be closely connected. If he were to forcefully separate them, it would only cause the nascent soul to dissipate and the soul to perish. Only when a nascent soul stage cultivator takes the initiative to separate their soul can the two be completely separated. As for those demonic cultivators above level 8, they only had demonic cores in their bodies and no nascent souls. As long as their physical bodies were destroyed, their souls could be easily extracted by nascent soul stage cultivators. Therefore, for secret techniques that used high-level divine souls, they would usually find high-level demonic beasts' souls to replace them. Hun Sha had used the soul concentration art to do something and devoured the previous Hun Sha perfected lord. His divine soul still had some hidden dangers. If he had the soul of a nascent soul, not only would his divine soul recover completely, his cultivation level might even improve. The 7 fiend true devil lord had both entered the midstage of the nascent soul realm. Their starting point was exactly the same. Their next step was to combine the 7 fiends into one. It could be said that whoever had a higher cultivation would have a higher chance of success. Su Junwen first mentioned the unification of the 7 evils and then talked about the Grand Elder's plan. He knew that the nascent soul's soul was useful to him and was just paving the way for the deal. Various thoughts flashed through Hun Sha's mind. He could not help but say, I wonder what Fairy Sue has taken a fancy to. If the price is reasonable, I'm willing to exchange. Su Junwen scanned Hun Sha from head to toe, causing the latter to have goosebumps. She clicked her tongue and said, Taoist Hun Sha, I have no use for your treasures. What I want is you. Hun Sha's face turned ashen. Who doesn't know about the yin-yang sex secret technique of copulation? Fairy Su Junwen laughed until her body trembled. She exuded a strange charm. Taoist Hun Sha, you've misunderstood. I'm only interested in your fiend's soul, fiend light. Only your divine ability and my secret technique can capture a nascent soul's soul. Hun Sha heaved a sigh of relief. Then, he frowned and said, My fiend's soul, fiend light can temporarily imprison an early-stage nascent soul cultivator's nascent soul, preventing it from leaving the body. However, if the Dharma body collapses, it will lose its effect. Could it be that Fairy Sue wants to join forces with me to capture a nascent soul? Could it be that Fairy Sue's secret technique is to extract the nascent soul's soul from the nascent soul? Su Junwen revealed a mysterious smile. On the contrary, my secret technique is not to extract the soul from the nascent soul, but through its physical body. Physical body. Su Junwen licked her lips and said, This secret technique that I created can suck the nascent soul's power dry through an immortal cultivator's physical body. At the same time, the nascent soul will enter an illusory state. If nothing goes wrong, once the nascent soul is sucked dry, the lost soul will temporarily attach itself to the physical body. At that time, the difficulty of extracting the soul will not be much higher than a demon beast. Hun Sha's expression was a little disappointed. So Fairy Sue has not tested it. Su Junwen chuckled and said, Therefore, the content of our deal is for the two of us to join forces and find a lone nascent soul cultivator in this war. Taoist Hun Sha's fiend soul, fiend light, and my secret technique will work together. I can absorb the opponent's nascent soul's power to cultivate, while Taoist Hun Sha can collect the nascent soul's soul. Isn't this the best of both worlds? Hun Sha's eyes flickered. Lone nascent soul cultivators, what does Fairy Sue mean? Su Junwen said, Although our sect is cooperating with the Western Prefecture's Itinerant Cultivator Alliance, we are actually using them as expendable goods to restrain a portion of the blood refinement sect's energy. Although both sides have an agreement, there are some loopholes. As long as the Dharma body is not destroyed, it is not considered a violation. I believe that the 7 Fiends sect and the 5 sects and 3 clans have similar loopholes. Hun Sha pondered for a moment and said, The fiend's soul, fiend light, only imprisons the nascent soul in the physical body. It does not affect the agreement. Su Junwen said meaningfully, Rather than being killed by the blood refinement sect, why don't we do it ourselves? Taoist Hun Sha, as the 7 Fiend True Demon Lord, you naturally know the location of the nascent soul cultivators of the 5 sects and 3 clans. As for me, I can also lure the fellows from the Itinerant Cultivator Alliance. Hun Sha narrowed his eyes and said, Fairy Sue is indeed smart. If we are dealing with the Itinerant Cultivator Alliance, I will be the main force and Fairy Sue will support me. If we are dealing with the 5 sects and 3 clans, it will be the opposite. Fairy Sue, under the condition of not damaging the Dharma body, devouring the nascent soul's power is not considered a violation of the agreement. As for extracting the nascent soul's soul, we can help each other. Su Junwen chuckled and said, Since fellow Taoist Hun Sha agrees, why don't we test it out? If I am not wrong, the Itinerant Cultivator Alliance's Shueya should be arriving soon. Hun Sha raised his eyebrows and said, Shueya? Su Junwen smiled charmingly and said with a slight ripple in his voice, That old pervert Shueya's cultivation method happens to be restrained by me. Under the influence of my bewitching mystic technique, he took the initiative to ask me to meet him at the Dead Souls River. His cultivation is ordinary. If the two of us work together, we can easily capture him alive. She felt the sparse extreme yang power in the depths of the nascent soul and said with a faint excitement, "This fellow looks skinny, but his essence blood is abundant. The nascent soul in his body can completely satisfy my cultivation need. If my mystic technique succeeds, fellow Taoist Hun Sha can also extract the nascent soul's soul." Just as she finished speaking, a mocking voice suddenly sounded from the surroundings. "Tsk, fellow Taoist Su is indeed ruthless. Shuiya is very infatuated with fellow Taoist Su Hun Sha," and Su Junwen's expressions changed. The demonic power in their bodies surged almost at the same time. A dark yellow demonic light and a white blade shot out. A burly bald man appeared out of thin air on a rock about 30 meters away. This person did not have any aura and was like an ordinary mortal. The bald man looked at the two demonic light that contained the powerful nascent soul power that shot towards him. He casually raised his hands and the air around his palms distorted slightly. An inexplicable pressure filled the air and hit the demonic light and the blade as if he was swatting flies. The two nascent soul cultivators' Dharma spells seemed to have received a terrifying shock. The demonic light trembled and turned into specks of spiritual light that dissipated in the air. The bald man's hands were unharmed. It was as if the two demonic light attacks were an illusion. At this moment, Hun Sha also saw the bald man's appearance clearly. His expression changed drastically. "Zhang Tianbiao, it's you." Su Junwen revealed a look of disbelief. Her eyes suddenly turned black and white. It was as if she had used some kind of spiritual sight ability. Then she cried out, "It's really you. It's only been a few decades and you've actually entered the nascent soul stage." Hun Sha and Su Junwen hurriedly added a defensive barrier to themselves. They looked as if they were facing a great enemy. They had a deep impression of Zhang Tianbiao. In the Yuan mystic realm, this person used his flesh and blood to fight against a top-notch demonic zombie. His physical body could be said to be terrifying. Just now, this fellow actually used his palms to easily block their Dharma spells. Clearly, his physical body was even more perverse. This person had the combat power of a pseudonascent soul when he was only in the middle stage core formation realm. What kind of terrifying strength was he now? Chapter 9:17. Lu Kuan jumped down from the rock and smiled. "I didn't expect the two of you to still remember me. After all, we fought side by side in the mystic realm. You don't have to be so nervous." Hun Sha snorted. "Fellow Zhang, you stole the treasures of the 7 evil spirits in the mystic realm. Then, you took the corpse of a top-grade demonic zombie for yourself. You call that fighting side by side?" Lu Kuan said calmly, "I, Zhang Tianbiao, am just an itinerant cultivator. Of course, I have to think of ways to reap the benefits." Su Junwen's face darkened. "Itinerant cultivator? Is fellow Zhang from the Itinerant Cultivator Alliance?" Lu Kuan looked disdainful. "That's just a motley crew. They don't even have a great cultivator. I won't join such a weak alliance." Su Junwen's face darkened. "Since fellow Zhang isn't from the Itinerant Cultivator Alliance, it's even more impossible for you to know about this place. That old fellow Blood Fong would never tell anyone else." Lu Kuan looked at Su Junwen's voluptuous body and clicked his tongue. "Fairy Su's bewitching secret technique isn't simple. You can actually bewitch Blood Fong without batting an eyelid. Even when I searched Blood Fong's soul, I didn't find any trace of your bewitching secret technique." Su Junwen and Hun Sha were shocked when they heard that. Blood Fong was weak, but he was still a nascent soul cultivator. Yet, Zhang Tianbiao managed to capture his nascent soul. Lu Kuan sighed. "I didn't expect that my curiosity would allow me to discover Hun Sha True Demon Lord and Yin Yang Saint's plan. If I spread the news that the two of you killed your allies, the war between the three demon sects will have many more variables. Su Junwen said, Fellow Zhang, are you trying to threaten us? But I don't think anyone would believe it if they heard it from an itinerant cultivator. Lu Kuan said, I don't know if they believe it or not, but I'm afraid your plan will fail. Han Sha's expression changed. Fellow Zhang, are you trying to make a deal with us? Lu Kuan said, That's right. Su Junwen snorted and said, If you want to trade with us, you'll have to try fellow Daoist Zhang's divine ability again. As soon as her voice trailed off, her voluptuous body emitted a blinding white light. Countless white blades shot out and covered the sky as they rushed forward like hundreds of treasures. The original level energy they emitted was extremely dense and terrifying. Han Sha's body also trembled slightly. 3 yellow lights flashed out of his body and disappeared. Lu Kuan looked at the sky full of white blade attacks. He raised his palms, which were wrapped in a layer of silver light, and 3 layers of distorted force fields enveloped his palms. Then, his arms trembled rapidly. Due to the extreme speed, more than 10 palm shadows appeared in front of him. Each of the palm prints rippled with invisible ripples in all directions, forming a pale silver twisted curtain of light in the shape of a spider web. The white blades that filled the sky crashed into the light barrier with unparalleled power. An extremely dull sound was heard. A large number of white blades turned into specks of spiritual light and dissipated in front of the light barrier. It was as if a terrifying vibration force had forcefully shattered them. A moment later, the white blades that filled the sky disappeared. Only a white crescent moonblade was left. It trembled slightly in front of the silver light curtain. Beside it, 3 dark yellow long nails had appeared out of nowhere. They were also blocked by the light curtain. Lu Kuan's eyes revealed a hint of excitement. His rapidly waving arms paused. The palm shadows and the rippling light curtain dissipated. Only 2 thick palms were left. They carried 3 layers of distorted force fields and bombarded the crescent moon blade and the long nail treasures. Han Sha and Su Junwen felt an incomparably tyrannical power rush into their Dharma treasures, dissipating most of the devil power within. The two of them were shocked. They were just about to inject devil power into their treasures to resist the strange vibration force. However, at this moment, Lu Kuan's burly figure suddenly disappeared. Oh no! Su Junwen and Han Sha's expressions changed. They shot into the sky almost at the same moment Lu Kuan disappeared. They had seen it in the Yuan mystic realm. This itinerant cultivator's body was comparable to a top-grade devil zombie. He could unleash his speed to the extreme on the ground but could not unleash his terrifying speed in the air. However, the two of them had just flown 100 feet into the air when the bald man appeared in front of them. His burly body had a strange pressure that caused their bodies to tremble. It was as if they had encountered some kind of natural enemy. Su Junwen and Han Sha were shocked. However, their reactions were not slow. They quickly unleashed their defensive technique. The inner armor under Han Sha's robe emitted a yellow glow. The shield around his body was immediately thickened by a layer. On the other hand, a silk cloth emerged from Su Junwen's long skirt and wrapped around her delicate body. The corners of Lu Kuan's mouth curled up slightly. His strong body suddenly shrunk. However, his arms rapidly swelled. They were filled with hideous veins and muscles. It was as if his flesh and blood had been transferred to his arms. Lu Kuan's legs kicked slightly. The void became a stepping board. His entire body transformed into several afterimages. He circled around Han Sha and Su Junwen. At the same time, each afterimage struck out with a blurry palm print. Some of these afterimages were striking at the two of them. However, some had their backs facing them. Their arms were striking backward at a distorted angle. The wave-shaped palm prints continuously bombarded the outermost shield of the two. However, although the defensive spirit light trembled, it did not show any signs of dissipating. It was as if it could not break through the shield. Hun Sha and Su Junwen were delighted at first. However, they were horrified to discover that waves of endless vibrating force were being transmitted inwards through the shield outside their bodies. The spirit light of the defensive artifact could not block it. The vibrating force was like a strange force field. It vibrated the demonic power in their bodies. Even their nascent soul power was trembling. Su Junwen immediately felt that it was difficult for her to cast other spells when her demonic power and nascent soul power were trembling violently. She could not even recall the crescent moon blade artifact in the distance. Hun Sha was slightly better. He had a nascent soul middle stage cultivation base. He endured the vibrating demonic power and forcefully cast a spell. 3 dark yellow long nails shot back from afar. Lu Kuan's body paused in midair. He casually struck backward with his right palm. Unexpectedly, the long nails instantly merged into one. Its speed increased explosively. It flashed past his palm and pierced towards Lu Kuan's head. Clang! A crisp sound rang out as the thick and long nail smashed into his forehead. It pierced through his skin and revealed a shiny silver skull. Lu Kuan did not move. He quickly struck his forehead with his palms. 2 palm prints blasted onto the long nail. The latter trembled slightly and split into 3 long nails. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Su Junwen regained control of her demonic power. A completely different nascent soul power gushed out from the depths of her nascent soul. A little black demonic light appeared on the white shield outside her body. The vigorous aura of the nascent soul power was not inferior to that of a nascent soul middle stage cultivator. Hun Sha, on the other hand, cast a spell. His body suddenly emitted an extremely shocking evil aura. The long nails in Lu Kuan's palms seemed to be affected by something. They trembled violently. Lu Kuan exclaimed softly. His eyes were in a trance. He seemed to be affected by something. However, he quickly recovered. The 3 long nails in his hands took advantage of his trance to quickly break free from his palms and enter Hun Sha's body. Su Junwen's delicate voice became a little low. Fellow Zhang's strength is amazing. However, if we continue to fight, it will be a battle of life and death. Lu Kuan heard this and shook his hand. The swollen muscles on his arm returned to their original state. The flesh on his arm returned to his body. The inexplicable pressure in the air dissipated. He had just used a combat skill that he had created not long ago, the Zhen Yuan Palm. This combat skill of the palm technique could superimpose 3 layers of vibrating origin force fields on the hand. It could transmit a terrifying force of hundreds of thousands of kilograms in the form of vibrations. In addition to dispersing energy attacks, Lu Kuan also found out when he killed Bloodfang that the vibrating force of the Zhen Yuan Palm could penetrate the cultivator's shield and agitate the nascent soul power in the opponent's body. It was difficult for him to cast a spell. In the battle just now, he had used the flesh and blood fusion ability. He had infused part of his body's flesh and blood essence into his arm, increasing the strength of his arm by 10%. He had formed an absolute suppression against Su Junwen, who was in the early nascent soul stage. As for Hun Sha, if his continuous Zhen Yuan Palm was aimed at Hun Sha alone, he would not be able to easily mobilize the nascent soul power. With these thoughts in his mind, Lu Kuan said lightly, "Since the 2 of you have tested my ability, can we make a deal?" Hun Sha and Su Junwen were slightly relieved when they heard this. The short battle just now made them feel that Zhang Tianbiao's strength was unfathomable. It was definitely far beyond an ordinary nascent soul stage cultivator. Although the 2 of them still had some trump cards, they could not use them easily. It was the best choice for both parties to stop fighting. Su Junwen waved her delicate hand and kept the crescent moon blade magic treasure into her body. Her body was still surrounded by the black and white nascent soul power. She asked, "What does fellow Taoist Zhang want to trade with us?" Lu Kuan said meaningfully, What do the two of you think about the difficulty of capturing an early nascent soul stage cultivator if the three of us join forces? Su Junwen immediately recalled the scene where she was unable to cast spells due to the surging demonic power. If she had this fellow's help, capturing an early nascent soul stage cultivator alive would be a cinch. Hun Sha frowned and said, "Then what does fellow Taoist Zhang want?" Lu Kuan chuckled and said, "Fellow Taoist Hun Sha needs the soul of a nascent soul. Fairy Su absorbs the power of a nascent soul. As for me, I've been researching a secret technique recently. I need a living nascent soul stage spell body to experiment. It doesn't conflict with the two of you. As for the value of this nascent soul stage cultivator, I don't need it. I only need the two of you to exchange some demonic treasure refining method." Hun Sha was stunned. Clearly, he did not expect Lu Kuan to make such a request. Not only would it not affect him, it would even benefit him. After all, if he joined forces with Su Junwen, there was still a possibility of failure. Su Junwen said cautiously, "Will fellow Taoist Zhang's secret technique destroy the spell body of a nascent soul stage cultivator? If the spell body is destroyed, Hun Sha's baleful soul demonic light will lose its effect. The nascent soul will be able to teleport away. That would be equivalent to a failure." Lu Kuan shook his head and said, "Fairy Su, please don't worry. This experiment of mine will only destroy his meridians at most." Su Junwen and Hun Sha looked at each other. They secretly communicated with their spiritual sense for a moment and agreed to Lu Kuan's trade. Chapter 9:18. Ever since the two demonic sects and the forces of the West Continent attacked the South Continent, the blood-refining sect had entered a passive state of defense. Other than the Blood Demon Mountain Range where the sect was located, the 8 most important resource points of the blood-refining sect in the South Continent all had restrictions on them. Although they were resource points, the restrictions on them were more powerful than the sect-protecting array of an ordinary sect. Each resource point was guarded by a nascent soul stage cultivator. With the help of the array, they could completely resist the attack of 3 nascent soul stage cultivators. Moreover, the 8 resource points were connected by a special teleportation array. This allowed the nascent soul stage cultivators of each resource point to support each other. It was extremely difficult to break through such a resource point. Unless the 7 Fiends sect and the Yin-Yang sect sent 7 or 8 nascent soul stage cultivators to attack a resource point, it would be impossible to break through. However, in the past few years since the war broke out, the 2 demonic sects only sent 1 nascent soul stage cultivator to each of the 8 resource points. They did not attack by force. Instead, they sent out a large number of disciples to sweep the other secondary resource points. Due to the lack of manpower, there were very few nascent soul stage cultivators in the secondary resource points. Most of the battles were between core formation stage cultivators. As the war continued, the secondary resource points gradually fell into the control of the 2 demonic sections. Somewhere in the south continent of the state of Qi, there was a rugged mountain range that stretched for hundreds of miles. It was like a dragon hibernating on the ground. Dense spiritual and demonic Qi lingered around it, making it look majestic and magnificent. This was the famous Coiling Dragon Mountain in the South Continent. Coiling Dragon Mountain was one of the few demonic spiritual veins that produced demonic stones. At the same time, it also grew a large number of demonic herbs. It was one of the 8 resource points of the blood refining sect. On this day, a fat man in a black robe was sitting cross-legged on one of the peaks of Coiling Dragon Mountain. He emitted a tyrannical demonic fluctuation. He was obviously a nascent soul stage cultivator. The fat on the fat man's face was squeezed together and his face was full of worry. It seems that the 2 demonic sects are going to attack the 8 resource points. New nascent soul stage cultivators are appearing in the other resource points. Who will they send to Coiling Dragon Mountain? The fat man raised his head and looked at the restrictions outside Coiling Dragon Mountain. For some reason, he felt a strong sense of uneasiness in his heart. I was able to enter the nascent soul stage because of the mutated demonic energy and Senior Brother Sidhu's secret technique. I'm afraid I have no hope of entering the middle stage nascent soul stage. Among the nascent soul stage cultivators guarding the 8 resource points, my cultivation is the weakest. I'm afraid that the old man from the Demon Flame sect has already figured out my real strength. He knows that I'm weaker than an ordinary early-stage nascent soul cultivator. What if the 2 demon sects attack Panlong Mountain first? Just as Fei-Mo was worried, a small array not far behind him lit up and a jade slip appeared. Fat Devil's eyes lit up and he quickly pulled the jade into his hand. His divine sense entered, but soon he revealed a look of terror. What? Soul Fiend True Monarch and Su Junwen have arrived outside the Coiling Dragon Mountain. Both of them have the combat prowess of a middle-stage nascent soul stage cultivator. With the addition of the Devil Flame sect cultivator, I, Fat Devil, will not be able to hold them off. Fei-Mo couldn't help but stand up. I don't understand why the sect is guarding the resource points. At most, it will delay them for a few years. Could it be that one of the senior brothers has the confidence to enter the middle stage nascent soul stage? Just as Fei-Mo's thoughts were running wild, the forbidden array covering the Coiling Dragon Mountain trembled slightly and a loud rumbling sound was heard. They're attacking so soon? Fei-Mo revealed a nervous expression. The power of his nascent soul surged inside his body, and he sent out seals to the formation in front of him. The power of his nascent soul divine sense spread out and he gave out orders. The disciples of the blood refining sect immediately returned to their positions and worked together to maintain the forbidden array. After a while, the trembling barrier stabilized. Fei-Mo frowned. Strange, with this kind of attack strength, it should be an old fellow from the Demon Flame sect. If Hun Sha and Su Junwen joined in, I wouldn't be so relaxed. Could it be that he is testing us? Thinking of this, Fei-Mo took out a disc. On it was the phantom of the Coiling Dragon Mountain. At the edge, there was a flickering black light. It was the place where the enemy attacked. This old man wouldn't attack for no reason. He must have some other purpose. Fei-Mo pondered for a moment. His hands flickered as he shot out several demonic lights towards the array plate, causing the phantoms to become even more solid. Many white dots appeared on the array plate. Obviously, they were the disciples of the blood refining sect who were in charge of the array. There's no problem. These white dots, why are they at my position? Fei-Mo couldn't help but raise his head. A terrifying fluctuation suddenly appeared in the sky. Accompanied by a blinding silver light, a hole was blasted open in the barrier. Fei-Mo's mouth fell open. He couldn't believe his eyes. A forbidden array of this level had been forcibly broken open. Only a great cultivator-level attack could do this. As soon as the hole appeared, 3 figures rushed in. The leader of the group was a bald man. The veins and muscles on his right arm were contorted hideously, and there was still some silver light on his right index and middle finger. The other 2 were a middle-aged man and a voluptuous woman. As soon as the 3 of them entered, the barrier closed again. Fei-Mo looked and revealed a look of disbelief. You are Zhang Tianbiao. Before he finished speaking, the power of his nascent soul surged. He spat out a mouthful of blood essence and his body was immediately wrapped in a layer of blood-red light. The bald man smiled and his body flashed. He appeared in front of Fei-Mo as if he had teleported. The muscles on his right arm twisted strangely and the silver vortex on his index and middle fingers quickly merged. His fingers carried a blinding silver light and stabbed into the blood-red light. In almost an instant, a large hole was opened in the light. Then the bald man flipped his right hand and his fingers opened into a palm. 3 layers of formless palm imprints were unleashed, and a burst of fearsome vibrational force proliferated in all directions. The crimson streak of light trembled before dissipating into specks of spiritual light, revealing Fei Mo, who was enshrouded in a demonic power barrier. In the next instant, the bald man quickly waved his hands and unleashed a dozen or so palm shadows. Ripples of distortion appeared in the air, and Fei Mo was instantly wrapped up by countless palm prints. Fei Mo was horrified to find that his demonic force was being shaken by a strange power. He couldn't summon a trace of his nascent soul power or demonic force. It was as if he had been imprisoned. During this moment of delay, Hun Sha, who was at the back, formed a profound seal. 3 long, dark yellow nails shot out from his body with a shocking murderous aura. At this moment, the bald man's movements faltered and he quickly pointed 3 times. The terrifying penetrative power easily blasted 3 small holes in Fei Mo's barrier. Then, Hun Sha's 3 spikes disappeared into the holes and stabbed into Fei Mo's dantian. Ferocious demonic force and demonic light erupted. Fei Mo's eyes dimmed and the demonic force barrier around his body disappeared. His body slowly fell to the ground under the effect of an invisible force. Chapter 9:19. Lu Kuan looked at Fei Mo, who seemed to be asleep, and praised, "Fellow Taoist Hun Sha's supernatural power is really powerful. You can even imprison a nascent soul and dharma body. If I didn't see it with my own eyes, I wouldn't believe it." Hun Sha landed beside Fei Mo and his hand was still flashing with the spell. He said slowly, "Fellow Taoist Zhang, you're exaggerating. With my realm, I can only use it on early nascent soul stage. During this period, I can't attack and it can only last for an hour." Su Junwen looked at Fei Mo's body and licked his lip. He said eagerly, "Fellow Taoist Zhang, hurry up and do it. We don't have much time." Lu Kuan nodded and came to Fei Mo's side. A shocking power of qi and blood surged out of his body. He opened his mouth and spat out a grape-sized silver blood ball onto Fei Mo's chest. The blood ball turned into a pool of silver liquid and seeped into Fei Mo's heart through his robe. Then, the silver blood essence mixed with Fei Mo's blood and flowed through his blood vessels as if it was under Lu Kuan's control. After a while, Fei Mo's body trembled uncontrollably. Dense blood vessels appeared on the surface of his skin. Lu Kuan was now experimenting with a secret method to strengthen the meridians of nascent soul stage cultivators. Originally, he only had some guesses about it and didn't have any deeper clues until he met Shueya. This nascent soul stage cultivator from the Rogue Cultivators Alliance had an average cultivation level, but he had the means to detect the huge amount of blood essence in Lu Kuan's body. He even wanted to refine it. The result was obvious. Shueya was easily killed. After searching his soul, Lu Kuan was surprised to find that Shueya had a unique secret method. He cleverly used the blood essence to enhance spells or magic treasures to increase their power. The blood escape technique was also a secret method that used the blood essence. Compared to the blood escape technique, Shueya's secret method was much more comprehensive. Lu Kuan understood this secret method and his control over his blood increased greatly. As long as his blood didn't leave his body within 100 feet, he could control it flexibly. In this way, it was possible to strengthen the meridians. In the past, the Hong brothers of the Yuan sect used the power of qi and blood to devour the blood essence of demonic zombies and demon beasts to strengthen themselves. Was it possible to use the essence of one's own body to strengthen others through qi and blood essence to strengthen their bodies? Lu Kuan had no idea how to strengthen the meridians, but if it was only strengthen the meridians to strengthen the meridians, it would be much easier. The bloods to strengthen the meridians and blood essences bloods bees meridians bees blood nourished by blood. To strengthen Kuan Shao's body. Had qi blood be qi, it and qi, qi, T. T. Have T V'd Veb. Vusg S. It S to strengthens to blood Kuan. Hun Sha. He was standing not far away. His nascent soul's power surged. He maintained the fiendish soul demonic light. He looked at Lu Kuan, fear flashing in the depths of his eyes. This mysterious itinerant cultivator called Zhang Tianbiao. His was terrifying. Just 2 of his fingers could absorb his and Su Junwen's attack. It was as if his fingers were an extremely powerful array-breaking Dharma treasure. Fei Mo, an early nascent soul cultivator, could not resist at all. Zhang Tianbiao's S is very similar to the S. Could it be this? Hun Sha thought. Unlike Hun Sha, Su Junwen did not pay too much attention to Lu Kuan. Instead, he looked at Fei Mo. He was worried that Lu Kuan would break his Dharma body. She created the yin-yang mother-child technique. It was a top cultivation technique for cultivating 2 nascent souls. When she was in the Yuan mystic realm, she had already nurtured the power of extreme yang. If she broke through as a man, she could easily form her nascent soul. However, she had foresight. She took the risk of breaking through as a woman. She used the power of extreme yin to form her nascent soul. The extreme yang power of the core formation stage was sealed in the depths of her nascent soul. This way, Su Junwen's nascent soul was the mother's body. The extreme yang power in his body was the child's embryo. The process of cultivating 2 nascent souls was to gradually strengthen the extreme yang power. Then, through the mother's nascent soul, it would give birth to a child nascent soul. If she cultivated step by step, it would take a shocking amount of time. The fastest way was to use the yang power to nourish her yin. She would absorb a large amount of nascent soul male cultivator's body essence and nascent soul power to nourish the extreme yang power in the depths of her nascent soul. If Lu Kuan damaged Fei Mo's Dharma body, her extreme yang power would be affected. Fei Mo was in extreme pain. The strange light from the 3 Dharma treasures caused the nascent soul and Dharma body to be tightly connected. He couldn't use the power of the nascent soul, and even his immortal will couldn't leave his body. A surge of blood qi suddenly appeared in his body and flowed in his meridians. It made him feel like he was taking a nascent soul elixir when he was a core formation cultivator. His meridians were extremely swollen. After about 15 minutes, a series of popping sounds were heard. All the meridians in Fei Mo's body exploded. The shocking blood qi also left his body. Then, Fat Demon smelled a seductive body fragrance amidst the smell of blood. A voluptuous body leaned over. That soft and supple feeling was even more comfortable than cotton candy. A pair of nimble and slender hands were even touching the sensitive parts of his body. The person doing this was the famous yin-yang saint of the yin-yang sect, Su Junwen. Fei Mo was terrified. What is this guy doing to me? Is he going to suck me dry? Is Su Junwen a man or a woman? If he's a man, how can he have sex with yin and yang? Damn it, why isn't my body listening to me? It's actually reacting. So he's a woman. Such a warm and humid cave. No, I have to hold on. Damn it, I can't take it anymore. Fei Mo lay on the ground with his arms and legs spread out. He had an intoxicated expression. A voluptuous and fair body sat on top of him. Dense extreme yin power surged in this body. Fei Mo's soul seemed to have been elevated. He was in a state of floating. Therefore, he didn't notice that his Dharma body and nascent soul were shrinking at a visible speed. In just 10 breaths of time, Fei Mo had become a bag of bones, and his nascent soul had become dim and lifeless. Hun Sha's eyes lit up. He stopped the fiendish soul demonic light and reached out his hand. An illusory figure with a dull expression flew out of Fei Mo's body. Hun Sha was overjoyed. He took out a jade bottle and sucked the illusory figure into it. He stuck a few talismans on it and carefully kept it in his storage bag. With a flash of demonic light, Su Junwen once again donned a purple dress, covering her body. Her face was flushed red as she felt the extreme yang energy in her body grow stronger. Her eyes flashed with excitement. A golden light flashed in the depths of Lu Kuan's eyes. He chuckled and said, "Looks like the two of you have succeeded. Is the remaining demonic power enough?" That old man from the Demon Flames sect. Su Junwen heard this and immediately said excitedly, "I'm fine. Fellow Taoist Hun Sha, inform that old man to come over. No one will know if we do it here." Hun Sha had just obtained a nascent soul. He was also excited. He quickly took out a jade talisman and activated it. Their plan was to deal with Fei Mo first. Then, they would set a trap for the Demon Flame sect's nascent soul cultivator. This way, not only could they kill the two nascent soul cultivators, they could also claim that the two of them died together. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.